To save the female CEO, I fell into the sea and lost my memory. She dedicated herself to me and married me, but after the marriage, her heart always held that white moonlight, first love/ideal, who had been missing for a long time. Now that there is news of the white moonlight, she couldn't wait to throw $5 million at me and said, "I found him, let's get a divorce." Just as I was about to kneel down humbly to beg her to stay, I suddenly regained my memory. It turns out I am the sole heir of a top-tier family, and I also have a wealthy fiancé from a childhood betrothal. At this moment, Yunshu handed over the divorce papers. "Sign it. This money is enough for you to spend for a lifetime." After speaking, she turned around and left in a hurry without looking back. After decisively signing the divorce papers, I picked up my phone and dialed a number. "Do you know who I am?" As soon as I finished speaking, the woman on the other end of the line shouted, "Are you sick? How would I know who you are?" I raised an eyebrow and said, "You can't even recognize my voice, Ellie? Is it because I can't hold a knife anymore, or because you've become too arrogant?" The woman on the other end paused for 2 seconds, then suddenly shouted at the top of her lungs, "Ji Hui, you're still alive!" Then the woman's voice turned sour. "Missing for 2 years without a word. I thought you ran away with some wild woman." I didn't respond to her, but instead gave an order. "I'm sending the GPS location to your phone. Come pick me up." The next morning, just as I walked out of the villa, a dazzling, diamond-encrusted Ferrari drove up. A beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman stepped out of the driver's seat and came forward to give me a hug, but I pushed her away ruthlessly and walked straight over to pull open the car door. Ellie stamped her feet in grievance. "You heartless man, I rushed here from America overnight, and this is how you treat me?" I glanced at her and spoke indifferently. "Let's go." After speaking, I took one last look at the place where I had lived for 2 years. I didn't belong here, just as Yunshu never belonged to me. Having been a punching bag here for 2 years, now that my memory is finally restored, I should properly investigate who the culprit was, who caused my injury and memory loss back then. 2 days later, Yunshu returned to the villa and locked herself in the bedroom as soon as she went upstairs. The information was wrong. That man was not her white moonlight, and she had made the trip for nothing. The servant knocked on the door and came in, handing her the divorce agreement. Mr. G has already signed and left. He didn't take anything when he left, including the bank card you gave him." Yunshu's willow-like brows furrowed. This man knows how to do nothing and has no money on him. 9 times out of 10, he wants to act pitiful to win sympathy. Yunshu thought to herself that she must handle the divorce procedures as soon as possible to avoid further complications. Just as the servant left, her assistant Yang Ting walked in. "Miss Xia, Mr. G is back again." Yunshu showed a look of annoyance. She knew this man wouldn't get divorced easily. Yang Ting shook her head and said, quote, "No, the media caught Mr. G and the American tycoon's daughter Ellie entering and leaving a hotel together, staying overnight." Yunshu's face darkened. He actually knows Ellie? No wonder he didn't want the money she gave. He had already found a new branch to jump to. Yunshu was already in a bad mood, and now she was even more frustrated. So she called her good friend Shen Kuning to ask her out to a bar. On the other side, at the Kyoto Never Sleeping City, looking at the 16 beautiful girls lined up in front of me, a satisfied smile curled at the corners of my mouth. Ellie was talking about business in a private room upstairs. Fearing I would be bored while waiting, she invited a few friends to keep me company. I swirled my wine glass and asked, "How old are you, sisters?" The girls on the side smiled. "Brother, I'm 23 inches. Brother, I'm 21. I looked at these friends Ellie found for me and was extremely satisfied. Their looks and figures were top-notch, not losing at all to that dog woman Yunshu. She could divorce me for her white moonlight, so why can't I live happily? I smiled and spoke to the beauty sitting next to me. "Have a drink with brother. If I'm happy, brother will give you a sports car." Hearing this, the little beauty immediately poured wine for me and moved closer. "Brother, I toast to you." Seeing how generous I was, the girls present passionately toasted me one after another, using all their skills to make me happy. At the same time, in the upstairs private room, Yunshu was drinking with Shen Kuning. Shen Kuning suddenly spoke up to persuade her. "Yunshu, you've searched for so many years, you should let it go." Yunshu had searched for that man for 5 years, even posting a $30 million bounty on the dark web, but there was still no sign of him. Shen Qiuning knew Xia Yunshu's capabilities. If the man hadn't been found after all these years, he was likely no longer alive. However, Shen Qiuning didn't dare say this to her face. Xia Yunshu didn't speak and drained the wine in her glass. Shen Qiuning knew her temper and didn't continue, changing the subject. Is Ji Hui really willing to divorce you? Everyone knew that 2 years ago, Ji Hui fell in love with Xia Yunshu at first sight. Even before they were married, he pestered her every day with various pursuits. Later, to deal with her family's pressure to marry, Xia Yunshu registered the marriage with me. I even changed my ways to please her, wishing I could hold my heart out to her. How could Ji Hui, who loved Xia Yunshu so much, divorce her so easily? Something unusual must be going on. And Yunshu, thinking about me and Ellie entering and leaving the hotel. Her face turned cold instantly. At that moment, Shen Qiuning suddenly pointed strangely at the downstairs hall. Why does that man downstairs look so much like Ji Hui? Shen Qiuning rubbed her eyes again. No, it's not right. Ji Hui couldn't possibly be this handsome. Hearing this, Xia Yunshu narrowed her eyes and looked in the direction of her finger. In the Supreme VIP booth, several young and beautiful women were gathered around a man. The man sat on the sofa, his long legs casually resting on the edge of the coffee table, occasionally swirling the red wine in his glass, his whole body exuding a lazy and noble temperament. A girl passionately poured wine for me, and I looked back, giving the girl a charming smile. Xia Yunshu looked at the man downstairs, and her heart shook violently. Is this not Ji Hui? Shen Qiuning confirmed repeatedly that she hadn't recognized the wrong person, her eyes nearly popping out in shock. No way. It really is him. He's actually surrounded by so many beauties. His charm is limitless. Xia Yunshu looked at me, her beautiful eyes filled with frost. This man, it was one thing to be photographed going to a hotel with Ellie, but now he actually dares to mess around here so brazenly. Fine, Ji Hui, you've really got some skills. I was chatting warmly with the group of beauties when I keenly sensed a sharp gaze staring at me. I turned my head to look and saw a familiar figure walking toward me. My eyes flickered, and a mocking smile deliberately curled on my lips. Xia Yunshu pushed through the crowd and stood in front of me. You just signed the divorce agreement and already came out to mess around? Ji Hui, are you that insatiable? I leaned back on the sofa and smiled. Life is short. Of course, one must enjoy it while they can. Xia Yunshu stared down at me, her face icy. Shen Qiuning behind her whispered Yunshu. Could he have been stimulated into stupidity because you abandoned him? I smiled and said, Miss Shen is joking. I stretched out both arms, resting them on the shoulders of the beauties on either side. Why should I give up the entire forest for one dog woman? Shen Qiuning was shocked. He actually called Yunshu a dog woman? Was this still the Ji Hui she knew? Xia Yunshu stared at me holding a woman in each arm, her expression turning ugly to the extreme. The me right now was a completely different person from before. Meeting her gaze, a hint of provocation flashed in my eyes. What? Does Miss Xia think I'm wrong? I had to admit, this woman's face was truly good, and she exuded an air of untouchable coldness. At this moment, she was looking at me with an indescribable danger in her eyes. Just then, a stout, burly man walked drunkenly to my booth. Two little beauties fighting over one man? Why not come into brother's arms, let brother love you? Xia Yunshu looked sideways, frowning and dodging to the side. The fat man walked toward my position and pushed away the beauty next to me. What's so good about this weakling of a man? I could slap him away with one hand. Immediately, a greasy arm reached toward me. A flash of killing intent crossed my eyes. Seeing this wretched man's hand about to touch my collar, in the next moment, I directly delivered a heavy slap to the fat man's face. The man cried out in pain and fell to the ground. You brat, you dare. I immediately kicked him in the stomach, sending him flying. Seeing this, the fat man's bodyguard swarmed toward me, my eyes stained with a hint of excited bloodlust. I quickly met them, taking them down one by one with a single punch. The whole process took less than 10 seconds, and 4 or 5 bodyguards were all lying on the ground. After lightly brushing the dust off my clothes, I sat back on the sofa to leisurely sip my fine wine. Shen Qiuning pointed at me, her face full of disbelief. Gee, Jihui, you're actually this good at fighting? No, he used to look so refined. How did his combat power explode in the blink of an eye? Was his previous refinement all an act? Yunshu stared at me, the coldness in her eyes slowly dissipating, replaced by an interested smile. This ex-husband of hers seemed much more interesting than she had imagined. After being obedient for 2 years of marriage, his personality completely changed after the divorce. Also, why did the moves he just used look so familiar? Yunshu narrowed her eyes, a hint of suspicion leaking out. Seeing those beauties from before standing to the side, I hooked my finger and gave a flirtatious smile. Why are you standing so far away? Come over and pour brother a drink. Just as several beauties were about to sit down, a chilling gaze suddenly shot over. Yunshu's icy look scared. The girls so much their legs went weak, and they immediately fled. Yunshu of the Xie family. Offending a young miss in Kyoto could cost one their life. I glanced at the woman indifferently. Yunshu, ruining someone's good time is a sin. Yunshu frowned and glared at me. Why? We haven't officially divorced yet. Now, divorce requires a 1-month cooling-off period. That means only after a month can we officially process the divorce certificate. I sneered. Yunshu, don't tell me you want to eat the old grass, reconcile. Yunshu said disdainfully, you're overthinking it. I poured myself a drink. That's for the best. Yunshu stared at the handsome, flamboyant man in front of her, unable to understand what had gone wrong. 2 days ago, he was still shamelessly clinging to her, crying that he didn't want to divorce, but now he was a completely different person. What is your relationship with Ellie? Yunshu questioned. I didn't look up. My affairs don't need to be explained to an ex-wife. Ex-wife? Ellie's shocked and aggrieved voice rang out. She stood nearby, pointing at Yunshu. Jihui, you actually married a wild woman behind my back? In an instant, Yunshu's eyes were layered with frost, and the air pressure around her dropped. She actually dared to call her a wild woman? I swept a gaze, filled with hidden killing intent toward Ellie. Ellie immediately chickened out and stuck out her tongue. Yunshu, a qualified ex-wife should be like she's dead, understand? Hearing this, Yunshu really wanted to hit someone. I couldn't be bothered with her and gestured for Ellie to leave. Let's change venues and continue. Ellie immediately followed. Yunshu stared at my departing back, her eyes swirling with anger. Suddenly, a thought popped into her head. How could he know Ellie, an American tycoon? And their relationship seemed very good. 2 years ago, I was injured and lost my memory, remembering nothing. For those 2 years, I had lived in her private villa and hadn't gone out to work. It was impossible to know a foreigner like Ellie. Yunshu's gaze flickered, unless they knew each other before. Chen Kuning, investigate Ellie thoroughly for me. I want to know everything related to her and Jihui. Yunshu paused and added, also, check into Jihui's background. Shen Kuning responded and teased, Yunshu, why do I feel like you're the one who got dumped? On the other side, after leaving Never Sleeping City, I went straight back to the hotel. Saying we were changing venues was actually to spite Yunshu and annoy that dog woman, all along the way. Ellie drove while chatting incessantly, asking what my relationship with Yunshu was. Unable to withstand it, I casually explained that she saved my life 2 years ago. Then I married her. Now her white moonlight is found, so we divorced. She saved your life? Ellie looked at me in disbelief. It had always been Jihui saving others. There was actually a time when someone saved him. My expression turned solemn. Someone hired assassins from Black Kill to hunt me down. Ellie's face changed. Black Kill is a notorious assassin organization in East Asia, known for their arrogant and ruthless style. Desperate characters who value money over life. As long as the pay is high enough, they dare to do anything. I recalled the danger in the tropical jungle 2 years ago, a dark light flashing in my eyes. Who exactly hired Black Kill to kill me? Ellie asked again, have you found out who the person behind the scenes is? I shook my head. I only regained my memory 2 days ago and haven't had time to start investigating. Ellie spoke seriously. Give me 2 days, I'll go check. I nodded. Good. Ellie suddenly thought of something. By the way, there's a post on the dark web with a bounty for you. The reward has already risen to $30 million. I raised an eyebrow. $30 million? Who is so generous? Someone who wants my life would likely want me alive to offer such a high price, probably to beg me to save their life. I didn't care. There were plenty of posts about me on the dark web, but almost no one dared to take them. Returning to the hotel, I washed up and prepared to rest when I suddenly remembered an important matter. My jade pendant was still with Yunshu. When I married her 2 years ago, I gave her that jade pendant as a wedding gift. At the time, I didn't know the importance of the pendant. Now that my memory is restored, I regret it deeply. How could I give away something so important so casually? Without it, things would be very inconvenient for me in the future. Therefore, I must get the jade pendant back. The next morning, Shen Qiuning went to Sha Corporation to find Yunshu. All the information that can be found about Ji Huai is here. Yunshu flipped through the documents she handed over. There were only a few lines of records. Just this much? Shen Qiuning shrugged helplessly. His information was likely encrypted. Aside from basic info, nothing else can be found. Ji Huai's information was actually encrypted? Yunshu's brow furrowed. This was something she hadn't expected at all. Ordinary people wouldn't do this. Yunshu stared at the document in her hand, her eyes flashing with cold light. At that moment, Yang Ting knocked and entered. Mr. Ji is here, before Yang Ting could finish. I walked in with a powerful aura. Yunshu looked at me, a fleeting sense of amazement in her eyes. Shen Qiuning looked at me and, remembering my feat at Never Sleeping City last night, subconsciously took a step back. I ignored her and walked straight up to Yunshu. Give me back my jade pendant. Yunshu, staring at the me whose temperament was completely different from before, involuntarily swallowed. What jade pendant? I sneered. I knew Yunshu would definitely have forgotten. I remembered when I gave it to her, she didn't even look at it and just tossed it on the table. Quote, when we got married, I gave you a jade pendant. I said coldly. Yunshu thought carefully. It seemed there was such a thing. 2 years ago, when she saved me, that jade pendant was hanging around my neck, even engraved with my name. Yunshu leaned back in her chair and sized me up. You came to find me just to get that jade pendant back? I crossed my arms. Otherwise? Yunshu, you didn't think I came to beg for a reconciliation, did you? Yunshu stared at me coldly. It's best if you aren't. I smiled bitterly in my heart. Don't worry. I won't. I now wish for nothing more than to be strangers with her, begging for reconciliation, maybe in the next life. I had no patience to waste my breath with her here, and reached out again. Bring the jade pendant. Yunshu looked at me indifferently. I threw it away long ago. My body stiffened. Thrown away? She actually threw my jade pendant away. Yunshu picked up the coffee next to her and took a sip, saying expressionlessly, if it's given to me, do I have to keep it? I slammed my hand on the table, my face turning green with anger. Yunshu, where did you throw it? Yunshu remained expressionless. I forgot. I clenched my fists tightly, a killing intent rising in my heart. Yunshu keenly noticed the flash of killing intent in my eyes and found it even more interesting. In 2 years of marriage, this was the first time she had seen me so angry. We stood in a stalemate for a while, and then I suddenly laughed. Yunshu, I'll give you 10 days. If you can't find my jade pendant, I will go to court and withdraw the divorce application. Within this 1 month of the cooling off period, as long as one party disagrees with the divorce, the application can be withdrawn at the Civil Affairs Bureau at any time. Yunshu froze, her face instantly turning cold. She knew it. This man wouldn't agree to divorce easily. What jade pendant? It must be an excuse I planned long ago. My smile became even more brilliant. As long as I don't agree to the divorce, your white moonlight will just be an unspeakable little third, mistress. Yunshu stared at me with cold eyes and stood up to approach me. Ji Huai, listen to me. This divorce is happening. I laughed coldly. Then find my jade pendant as soon as possible. If you don't find it, I'll make the entire Jia group accompany you. This is the only chance I'm giving you. After speaking, I gave her a warning look and turned to leave decisively. As soon as I walked out of the office, I saw a man with dyed yellow hair walking toward me. Song Mingyu, the eldest son of the Song family, one of Yunshu's admirers. Ever since I married Yunshu, he has frequently come to look for trouble. Seeing me walk out of Yunshu's office, Song Mingyu was stunned for a moment, then pointed at me and roared, "What are you doing here? None of your business," I replied irritably. Before, to please Yunshu, I restrained my personality and tried to be a good, obedient husband. Every time Song Mingyu looked for trouble, I endured it silently or avoided him, but now I didn't plan to continue enduring. Song Mingyu didn't expect that the me, who was usually weak and easily bullied, would dare to speak to him like this. His face changed with anger. Yunshu has divorced you. What are you still shamelessly hanging around her for?" I smiled. Young Master Song, Yunshu, and I haven't received the divorce certificate yet, so we are still a legal couple. Song Mingyu rushed in front of me and pointed at my nose arrogantly. "So what if you're a legal couple? The person Yunshu likes isn't you." I waved my hand. It doesn't matter if she likes me or not. What matters is that as long as I don't divorce, I am the rightful husband. Song Mingyu was fuming. "I've seen many soft rice men, moochers like you. You're just holding on to the marriage for money, right?" As Song Mingyu spoke, he took a check out of his bag and threw it in my face. "Here is 1 million. Take the money and get as far away as possible." I narrowed my eyes at the arrogant man and lazily picked up the check. 1 million to leave her for just 1 hour? Song Mingyu glared at me. "What, 1 hour? I want you to leave Yunshu forever. This moocher must be crazy, actually thinking 1 million is too little." I scoffed. "Young Master Song, you have the nerve to bring out a mere 1 million? As I spoke, I flicked my wrist with force, and the check flew out spinning. The edge of the paper was like a sharp blade, cutting a bloody gash on Song Mingyu's face. Song Mingyu clutched his stinging face and saw his palm was full of blood. "My face! Jihua, you actually dared to cut my face! I'm going to kill you," I sneered. "With just you. 2 years ago, even that pack of well-trained mad dogs in the tropical jungle couldn't kill me, let alone you." Song Mingyu was frantic and raised his hand to slap me with all his might. However, before his hand could touch me, I grabbed it firmly. Then came a crisp crack, and Song Mingyu let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Falling to his knees on the ground, his right arm twisted at an awkward angle. "My hand!" Looking at Song Mingyu kneeling on the floor, I raised an eyebrow and smiled. "If you don't learn your lesson, next time it won't be as simple as losing a hand." At that moment, Yunshu's angry voice came from behind me. "Jihui, what are you doing?" As soon as Song Mingyu saw Yunshu, he began to wail. "Yunshu, Jihui, he was just trying to kill me." I turned back to Yunshu and clapped my hands. "Can't you see? I'm crushing trash." Yunshu had no time to waste words with me and immediately ordered people to take Song Mingyu to the hospital. "Go to the hospital and apologize to Song Mingyu," Yunshu commanded me. The Song family and the Xia family had a good relationship and even collaborated in business. Song Mingyu was the spoiled child of the Song family. If he was hurt, the Song family would not let it go. I looked at Yunshu as if she were an idiot. "He doesn't deserve it." After speaking, I turned to leave. "Stop!" Yunshu grabbed my arm. A flash of green, annoyance, appeared in my eyes, and I shook her off. "Don't touch me. Do you think I'm still that submissive, steamed bun of a person from when I lost my memory?" Shen Qiuning, standing by, gasped. Yunshu was surrounded by a chilling aura. "Jihui, are you tired of living? If you want to die, I can fulfill that wish." I smiled disdainfully. "You can try." Yunshu was shrouded in an indescribable danger. "Don't think that just because Ellie is backing you up, I won't dare move against you." I raised an eyebrow. "So someone is backing me up, and you're jealous?" Yunshu choked. She didn't like me, so what kind of jealousy would she have? She was just very unhappy. Quote, "Jihui, if you're trying to play hard to get in front of me, I advise you to give up on that idea early." I glanced at her. "I'm playing with your uncle's hard to get, you dog woman. Do you really think you're as loved as money?" After speaking, I turned and left gracefully. Yunshu's icy face watched my departing back. Only after I left did Shen Qiuning dare to walk over to Yunshu. "Is this still the Jihui who used to love you to death? Could he have been possessed by another soul?" Yunshu also couldn't understand how this man could change so much in just a few days. I left Shea Corporation and went back to the hotel, and not long after, I received a call from Linger. Linger is Yunshu's younger sister. Her personality is lively, soft, cute, and generous, and her smile is particularly beautiful. She had just learned about the divorce between her sister and me, and fearing I wouldn't be able to handle it, asked me out to relax. In the Shea family, Linger was the only one who was good to me, and was my only friend after I lost my memory. I would be leaving Kyoto soon, and wanted to thank her properly before I left, so I agreed. When we got to the mall, I took Linger straight to her favorite Hermes counter. Half an hour later, Linger walked out of the Hermes counter carrying the diamond-encrusted crocodile skin handbag she had always wanted but couldn't buy, her whole head spinning. Although she usually spent money lavishly, spending $4 million on a bag was too extravagant. Brother GY, did you really give me this bag? Linger looked at the bag in her hand, which was worth as much as a house, unable to believe it. I smiled and nodded. Next month is your birthday. Consider it an early birthday present. Linger was moved to tears. Wow, Brother GY, you're so good. But where did you get so much money? Linger was a bit confused. Didn't he not take a single cent or a house when he divorced her sister? And I hadn't gone out to work for these 2 years, so naturally, I couldn't have an income. I said indifferently, previous savings. Linger made an O sound and then suddenly reacted, staring at me with wide eyes. Brother GY, you've regained your memory? I nodded. Linger froze. No wonder I had been so abnormal these past 2 days, seeming like a completely different person. It was because I regained my memory. Linger's eyes were sparkling as she looked at me. Brother GY, you're so rich. You wouldn't be the young master of the richest man, would you? I smiled and waved my hand. No, just take away the words, young master. Linger nodded happily. Tee-hee, support me! For the rest of the afternoon, Linger and I swept through the mall. After visiting all the luxury brand counters and finishing dinner in the evening, Linger went home with her spoils of war. While I returned to the hotel, not long after arriving, I received a phone call from Linger. As soon as I answered, a strange male voice came from the phone. You're Linger's brother-in-law, right? I'm giving you half an hour to get to the Yunjing Villa. Otherwise, you can just wait to collect Linger's corpse. At this moment in Yunjing Villa, Linger was sitting on the sofa with her hands tied and her mouth sealed with tape. 2 bodyguards in black stood to her left and right, not leaving her side for a second. The man hung up the phone, turned to the 2 bodyguards, and said, Hurry up and untie Miss Shaw. As soon as her hands were free, Linger tore the tape off her mouth, stood up abruptly, and shouted, Wen Shiji, are you freaking crazy? You even dare to kidnap me? Among the 3 great families of Kyoto, besides the Xia family, there are the Wen and Su families. Although the Wen family and the Xia family have a complicated relationship, they still have some dealings. Second, miss, don't move. I won't hurt you. I only invited you here because I want GY to deliver himself to my door. Linger's heart sank. She had only just found out that I had scarred Song Mingyu's face and crippled one of his hands. Wen Shijie was Song Mingyu's ironclad buddy. Kidnapping her to lure me here was definitely to seek revenge for Song Mingyu. No, she absolutely couldn't let Brother GY come. Linger wanted to rush forward to grab the phone, but was stopped by the 2 bodyguards. Wen Shiji, I'm warning you. Brother GY and my sister haven't divorced yet. If you dare to touch him, my sister won't let you off. Wen Shiji sneered. Second, miss, who are you trying to scare? I heard that Sister Yunshu has no feelings for Jihui at all. She hasn't even looked him in the eye once during the 2 years of marriage. He dared to bully my brother Mingyu. Today, I must properly teach this person who doesn't know the height of the heavens or the depth of the earth a lesson. Linger gritted her teeth in anger, grabbed a cup from the coffee table and threw it at Wen Shiji. Bullsh. My brother-in-law and sister have a great relationship. If you dare touch a single hair on his head, my sister will skin you alive. Wen Shiji dodged the cup and sat down on a single-seater sofa. Second, miss, I wasn't born yesterday. Everyone in the circle says Xia Yunshu treats GY like a discarded shoe. How could she possibly get angry at me for his sake? A flash of cruelty crossed Wen Shiji's eyes. He crippled one of Song Mingyu's hands, so I'll cripple both of his. He pointed at the other bodyguards. You few, go guard the door. When he arrives later, make him crawl in on his knees. Linger was fuming, rolling up her sleeves and rushing at Wen Shiji. You bastard, I'll fight you to the end. However, before she could reach him, she was pinned down by the bodyguards. Second miss, I don't want to hurt you, but if you continue to be so ungrateful, don't blame me for being impolite. Just as Wen Shiji finished speaking, a sharp screech of brakes came from outside. Oh, he arrived quite fast. Linger was pacing anxiously, silently praying in her heart that the person coming was her sister, not Brother Ji Huai. When she was being forced into the car earlier, she had used her phone to send a distress signal to Yunshu, but she didn't know if her sister had seen it. Wen Shiji sat with his legs crossed, looking toward the living room entrance. However, the next moment, the screams of bodyguards came from outside. Wen Shiji froze. Could it be that the person arriving wasn't Ji Huai? Just as he was thinking, the screaming stopped. The next moment, I appeared at the door, casually playing with a telescopic baton I had just snatched from a bodyguard, looking perfectly relaxed. Wen Shiji stared at me with wide eyes. The man at the door exuded a suffocating aura. The visitor was indeed Ji Huai. As soon as Linger saw me, she shouted, "Brother Ji Huai, leave quickly. Don't worry about me, just go. They won't dare do anything to me." Wen Shiji snapped out of it and said to the bodyguards nearby, "Gag his mouth." Before he could finish, a gust of cold wind swept past. Wen Shiji only felt a dark shadow flash before his eyes, followed by two muffled thuds. Linger, who was worried for me a moment ago, saw me effortlessly take down the two bodyguards who were suppressing her. One bodyguard was hit in the head with the baton, and the other was kicked flying. Both fell heavily to the ground, not even getting a chance to scream. Seeing things were going south, Wen Shiji quickly shouted toward the door, "Someone, come here." I smiled and looked at Wen Shiji. If you're calling for the dozen or so people outside, I advise you not to waste your breath. Wen Shiji gasped, looking at me in disbelief. The 20 people he brought tonight were all highly skilled professional bodyguards, yet they were taken out by me so quickly, they didn't even last 10 minutes. How could this man be so formidable? My face showed no expression except coldness, and my black eyes were full of killing intent. Even my people dare to be touched? You're looking for death. Wen Shiji felt numb under my gaze. The pressure I exerted made it hard for him to breathe, but if he couldn't avenge Sung Mingyu, how could he face him in the future? So Wen Shiji plucked up his courage and said, "Ji Huai, you injured Sung Mingyu's face and hand. Now, if you disfigure yourself and break both your hands, I'll let you both leave." I looked at him with a curled lip. This was the funniest joke I had ever heard. Linger quickly grabbed my hand. "Ji Huai, let's go." Ignore him. I nodded and looked at Linger. "Linger, go outside and wait for me." Linger looked at me with worry. "Brother Ji Huai." My voice was incredibly gentle. "Be good, listen to me." Linger nodded. "All right then." As Linger walked out of the living room, the next moment, Wen Shiji's blood-curdling scream echoed from inside. Linger was terrified by the scream and was about to go back in to check when she saw me walking out. "Brother Ji Huai." She ran over and grabbed my hand. "Are you okay?" I looked at her and said, "I'm fine." Linger shook her head and only felt relieved when she saw I had no injuries. As she followed me out of the courtyard, she saw a dozen bodyguards lying scattered on the ground. She covered her mouth, not daring to take a breath. All these people were taken care of by Brother Ji Huai? Linger looked at me with full admiration, giving me a thumbs up. "Brother Ji Huai, what color of rainbow farts, flattery, do you like? I'll blow them for you." I was amused. And just as I was about to speak, a black Maybach and a silver-gray Bentley drove toward us together. "It's my sister." Linger recognized one of the cars and jumped up, shouting, "Sister, I'm here!" Both cars stopped in front of us simultaneously. Then, the Bentley door opened, and a slender woman stepped out, Yunshu. She looked at Linger, who was jumping happily like a kangaroo, and didn't look bullied at all, then turned her gaze toward me. "Why are you here?" She caught a glimpse of the brightly lit villa behind me, and the two bodyguards lying on the ground at the entrance. I gave a wicked smile. I was waiting for someone to call me and say if I didn't come, I should wait to collect Linger's corpse. Linger pulled Yunshu's arm. You really should thank brother-in-law. If he hadn't arrived in time to save me, I would have been in danger today. I waved my hand. No need for thanks, they were coming for me anyway. Just as I finished, the person from the Maybach also stepped out. The woman looked about the same age as Yunshu, and was very beautiful. Miss Linger and Mr. G have been startled. Wen Ruxu looked at Xia Linger and nodded slightly to me. Xia Linger gave a proud snort. Wen Ruxu, the older sister, was much better looking than Wen Shiji. When Ruxu glanced at the bodyguard, passed out at the door, and said coldly, "This stupid fool who doesn't know the world actually dared to kidnap Xia Yunshu's sister. He was purely seeking death." Wen Ruxu's assistant responded, and hurriedly ran into the house. Soon he ran back out. Eldest Miss, the second young master. He. When Ruxu's expression changed slightly. What happened? The second young master's left pinky finger has been cut off, and she has fainted. When Ruxu's face paled, and Xia Yunshu was also stunned, instinctively looking at me. When Ruxu also looked at me. You did it? I met her gaze with an arrogant tone. Yes, I did it. Cutting off one finger is already letting her off cheap. Xia Linger looked at me in shock. I actually cut off Wen Shiji's pinky. No wonder I told her to come out first. I didn't want to scare her, right? Oh, how can Brother Jihuai be so heartwarming? When Ruxu clenched her fists and stared at me. Although she hadn't met me before today, she had heard some rumors. Everyone said Xia Yunshu's husband was a soft persimmon, pushover, that anyone could bully. But now, the supposedly weak man had cut off her sister's finger. Yunshu, your husband! I interrupted Wen Ruxu and glanced at Xia Yunshu. I have no relationship with her now. Jihui! Xia Yunshu gritted her teeth. This man wanted to draw a line with her that badly? Xia Linger looked at her sister. Wasn't she the one who forced Brother Jihuai to divorce? Why did it seem like she was the one being dumped now? It was quite mysterious. I rolled my eyes at Xia Yunshu, having no interest in tangling with them further, and spoke indifferently. If Ms. Wen wants to seek revenge for her sister, I'll be waiting at any time. A friendly reminder, you'd better bring more people. After speaking, I got into the sports car parked by the roadside. With a roar of the engine, the car sped away like an arrow from a bow. By the time Xia Linger reacted, she could only see the red taillights fading into the distance. Xia Linger was so excited she almost jumped. I'm telling you, Brother Jihuai was so cool tonight. He defeated all of Wen Shiji's bodyguards single-handedly. Xia Yunshu stared in the direction I left, wondering what she was thinking. Wen Ruxu, recalling my domineering appearance, felt a bit of interest. Not only did he cut her sister's finger, but he also handled so many bodyguards without a scratch. This man is not simple. Yunshu, this ex-husband of yours really makes me look at him in a new light. Before Xia Yunshu could speak, Xia Linger retorted. Wen Ruxu, don't you dare set your sights on my brother-in-law. He and my sister haven't received their divorce certificate yet. Wen Ruxu gave a half smile. Then I'll pursue him after they get the certificate. Coldness instantly radiated from Xia Yunshu's eyes. You dare? When Ruxu was originally joking, but seeing Xia Yunshu's reaction, her interest grew even more. Yunshu, you're joking. Since you're getting divorced anyway, my pursuing him has nothing to do with you. Then go ahead and try. Xia Yunshu's eyes were full of warning. She paused and warned again. Keep your sister under control. If there's a next time, it won't be just one finger she loses. When Ruxu nodded, tonight's matter was the Wen family's fault. Even if I hadn't stepped in, Xia Yunshu wouldn't have let Wen Shiji off easily. Cutting off one finger served as a lesson for her to see if she'd dare be so lawless in the future. After issuing the cold warning, Xia Yunshu drove away with Xia Linger. I returned to the hotel, and as soon as I entered the room, Ellie was holding her laptop and said excitedly, Gee, why? I found the transaction details for Blackkill from 2 years ago. I found a file with your name on it, which only contained a bank account number. Based on this bank account number, she found out who wanted to kill me 2 years ago. Ellie didn't speak, but handed the tablet to me. I took a look, and my face immediately changed. The G family of Jincheng. So the person who hired Blackkill to hunt me down 2 years ago was someone from the G family. I couldn't believe it. Just as I was about to call my grandfather, I saw a news pop up on the computer screen. Ji Haochen of the Jincheng G family to marry the eldest miss of the Jiang family. Wedding date set. Below the headline was a wedding photo of Ji Haochen and Jiang Yueting. I stared at the photo in shock. One was my cousin, and the other was the fiancé I had been engaged to 5 years ago. They were actually getting married, and they even had their wedding photos taken. Those bastards. Did Ji Haochen and Jiang Yueting think I was dead? I immediately searched online for what had happened to the Ji family over the past 2 years, and discovered 2 important things. First, the Ji family had announced my death 2 years ago, and even held a decent funeral for me. Second, old man Ji had suffered a stroke and was paralyzed due to excessive grief over my death. Grandfather was the only one in the Ji family who knew my true capabilities. Unless he saw my corpse with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe I had passed away. Normally, the Ji family shouldn't have known about me being hunted and falling off a cliff 2 years ago. Unless I stared at the bank account I just checked. My parents died early, and grandfather had raised me as the heir since childhood. If I died, the inheritance rights would fall into the hands of the second branch of the family. Thinking about it this way, I understood everything. Ellie walked to the wine cabinet and poured me a glass of red wine, saying with a half smile, "Ji Hui, I brought quite a few people this time, enough for you to level the Ji family to the ground." I gave her a cold look. "Don't meddle." Ellie sat on the sofa. "What, you're not planning to take revenge?" I sipped the wine. "I'm such a kind person." Ellie snapped her fingers and gave a gratified smile. 2 years later, "And you truly haven't changed at all. Pack up. I'm going back to Jincheng tomorrow." The next day, I hadn't slept well the night before. I put on an eye mask and took a nap on the plane. After landing, I went to the hotel and slept some more. I woke up at 9 p.m. for dinner, and then used the cover of night to proceed. In China, there are 6-century-old families living in the north and south. In the north, the Su, Wen, and Xia families stand as a tripod, with the Xia family being the strongest. In the south, Jincheng is balanced between the Mu, Ji, and Jiang families. However, 20 years ago, the Mu family emigrated overseas for unknown reasons, and the Jiang family's internal development has worsened over the years. So now, the most prestigious and powerful family in Jincheng is only the Ji family. The Jiang family's old lady and my grandmother were close friends, and she even saved my life when I was young. Grandmother remembered that kindness and had been supporting the Jiang family over the years, even intending for the 2 families to be joined by marriage. So as soon as I became an adult, I was called back to get engaged to Jiang Yueting. 5 years ago, that engagement party, pushed by both families, was extremely high profile and luxurious. The next day, the Jiang family stock rose by 5 points, and since then, the Jiang family has been smooth sailing in the business world. I soon arrived at the Ji family's old residence. I parked the car across the road from the back gate and climbed over the wall alone. To my surprise, the bodyguards at the Ji residence had all been replaced, and security was much tighter than before. I made my way to the detached building where grandfather lived. After searching the building, I found no trace of him. Grandfather had a stroke and wasn't resting at home. Could he have been sent to a nursing home by my second uncle? Having not found grandfather, I wasn't planning to stay longer. However, while going downstairs, I accidentally alerted the bodyguards. Soon, the alarm in the Ji residence rang out. More and more bodyguards ran over. In a panic, I ran up to the 3rd floor and met a man head-on. Without a word, I rushed forward and knocked him out with one palm strike. I turned and ran into a guest room, preparing to jump from the balcony. To my surprise, as soon as I entered, a gust of wind attacked me. There was someone in the room. I closed the door behind me and turned around to see Yunshu standing there. Why was she here? Yunshu completely didn't expect the intruder to be me. Why would Jihui be here, and why would he have alerted so many guards? A rush of footsteps came from outside. I had no time to explain and ducked into the bathroom. As soon as the bathroom door closed, there was a knock on the guest room door. I held the doorknob, alertly listening to the movement outside. Someone came in to ask Yunshu if she had seen anyone suspicious. Yunshu said no. I breathed a sigh of relief. She still had a bit of conscience not to turn me in. "Come out." After the bodyguards left, Yunshu's cold voice came from outside. I walked out and heard her ask, "Why are you here?" I raised an eyebrow with a half smile. "I should be asking you that, Yunshu. Why are you in my house?" "Your house?" Yunshu froze. "You're a member of the Ji family? Otherwise, could it be your house?" I saw a cup of tea on the table, picked it up, and took a sip. Yunshu's gaze was hard to read. The Ji family didn't seem to have anyone named Ji Hui. If he were a Gi family member, the bodyguards wouldn't have failed to recognize him. I put down the empty cup. Whether I am or not, you'll know in the future. There was no use saying more. I didn't want the Gi family to know I was still alive yet. I wanted to go to the window to check the situation outside, but after 2 steps, I felt my legs go soft. Yunshu thought I was injured and rushed forward to support me. As I lifted my head, my face was covered in an abnormal flush. Yunshu froze, suddenly remembering the glass of juice I had just drunk. It was brought up by Ji Hao Chen's cousin earlier. Damn it, that person actually dared to spike the drink. I tugged at my collar frantically, my last bit of sanity consumed by the fire, and I couldn't help but lean toward Yunshu. Yunshu's jaw was tight as she grabbed my moving hands. Jihui, hold on. The next moment, I kissed her. Yunshu's blood instantly surged with a suffocating sense of boiling, and her heart rate accelerated. This feeling was too familiar, just like that night 5 years ago. Yunshu stared at me with burning eyes. Could it be him? I fell into a nightmare. In my dream, I went back to that rainy night 5 years ago. At that time, I was in South Africa, participating in humanitarian aid. Terrorists attacked the hospital, and I was captured. I was blindfolded, and no matter how I begged her, that woman wouldn't let me go. Later that night, as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Yunshu lying beside me. I was stunned. In 2 years of marriage, she didn't even care to touch my hand, so how could this? My thoughts returned to reality. Everything that happened last night suddenly became clear in my mind. I was drugged and had treated Yunshu as the antidote. Seeing Yunshu's eyelids flutter as she was about to wake up, I immediately used a hand blade to strike her neck with lightning speed. Yunshu was knocked out by me just as she opened her eyes. I breathed a sigh of relief, got out of bed, and left the Gi residence before dawn. Not long after I left, Yunshu woke up. She sat up from the bed. There was no longer any sign of me in the room. If it weren't for the messy bed and that patch of red, plus the prominent scratch marks on her shoulders, she would have doubted if everything last night was real. Yunshu rubbed her aching neck, a flash of ferocity in her eyes. This damn man had slept with her and then actually dared to knock her out. Her phone rang twice. Yunshu picked it up and found it was a message from me. Opening it, her gaze instantly turned icy to the extreme. I had transferred 9 yuan and 90 fen to her and sent a text message, bad review. Yunshu looked at the 9 yuan and 90 fen transfer, coldness radiating from her entire body. What did this damn man take her for? And that review was a complete humiliation. Yunshu squeezed her phone tightly. Jihui, you'd better not let me catch you otherwise. Yunshu suppressed the anger in her heart and called her assistant Zhao Shu to pick her up. Last night she had come to talk business with Ji Rende, and a servant had accidentally spilled tea on her, so she went to the guest room to change. Yunshu recalled that glass of drugged juice, and a flash of killing intent crossed her eyes. To actually dare set a trap for her, how wonderful. Soon the car arrived. As soon as Yunshu got in, Yang Ting in the passenger seat handed her a document. Quote, "Miss, according to your instructions, I checked on Ellie, but strangely, I didn't find any connection between her and Jihui." Yunshu took the document and looked through it, her face cold. Their relationship was definitely not ordinary. Otherwise, given Ellie's status, she couldn't possibly be so respectful to him. Now, whenever Yunshu thought about the possibility of me and Ellie being lovers, she felt frustrated. Just how many things was that man hiding from her? What exactly was his relationship with the Gi family? And then there was last night. Yunshu massaged her brow. She picked up her phone and dialed my number. The phone rang for a long time before finally being picked up. "Hello?" My weary voice came through, as if I hadn't slept yet. Before Yunshu could speak, the next second, Ellie's voice came through the phone. "Jihui, who is it?" Yunshu gripped the phone, anger burning in her heart. Why was Ellie beside Jihui so early in the morning? Were they together last night? On the other end, hearing Yunshu's voice, I immediately hung up. When Yunshu tried calling again, she couldn't get through. I had blacklisted her. "Fine, Jihui. Do you really think I have no way to deal with you?" Yunshu pursed her lips, a cold smile hanging on her sexy lips. In the hotel, Ellie stood by the bed, looking at me with a half smile after I hung up. I rolled my eyes at her. "Did you find what I asked you to check? Old man G is currently staying in a nursing home in the suburbs." I nodded, changed my clothes, and went out. Upon arriving, I discovered there were bodyguards guarding grandfather's ward. Taking advantage of the moment when no one was looking, I slipped into the doctor's office. A few minutes later, I walked out wearing a white coat and a mask. The eldest young master is inside. Wait a moment. The bodyguard stopped me. I nodded, a flash of coldness in my eyes. The eldest young master he mentioned should be Ji Haochen. Inside the ward, Ji Haochen held the thumb of my grandfather, Ji Huaihai, and pressed his fingerprint onto a document. With this document, once he married Jiang Yueting, he would be the sole heir of the Ji family. Ji Haochen stood by the bed, looking at the unconscious old man, and laughed coldly. "Grandfather, back when my eldest uncle died, you should have designated my father as the heir, not Ji Huayo. You were too biased, favoring my eldest uncle's family in everything. All these years, you spent so much effort training Ji Hui to be a qualified heir. But what was the result? He still died at our hands. Don't blame us for being heartless. Blame yourself for choosing him as the heir and wanting to marry him to my beloved Yueting. I would never allow it. Now the Ji family is run by my father, and in the future, I will also be the head of the Ji family. As for Yueting, she will always be mine, and only mine." Ji Haochen laughed coldly. "So, grandfather, rest assured, we will make the Ji family better and stronger. It's just a pity you won't have the chance to see it. If it weren't to avoid suspicion, his father wouldn't have let this old thing live until now. Once the wedding with Yueting was over, this old thing would have no more value." I stood outside the door with my head slightly lowered, killing intent surging in my eyes. It seemed grandfather's stroke was related to Ji Rende and Ji Haochen, this father and son duo. After a short while, Ji Haochen came out of the ward, talking on the phone as he walked. "Has the suit arrived?" "Good, I'm heading over now." I watched Ji Haochen's back, my gaze chilling. 3 days later would be the wedding of Ji Haochen and Jiang Yueting. I would have to think carefully about what kind of grand gift to prepare for them. It would definitely be something they would never forget. After Ji Haochen left, I entered the ward. Upon entering, I saw grandfather, whom I hadn't seen for over 2 years, lying on the bed with an oxygen mask. In his younger years, grandfather had a habit of exercising. His health had always been good. Even as he aged, his body was sturdier than those his age. But at this moment, the old man lying on the bed was as thin as a lath, his face sallow, looking like his life force was about to run out. Seeing grandfather like this, I was extremely anxious and immediately checked his pulse. After a thorough examination, I finally confirmed my suspicion. Grandfather didn't have a stroke. He was poisoned. Ji Rende, that beastly creature, could even lay a murderous hand on his own father. He truly deserves to be struck by lightning. I suppressed the anger in my heart. Now was not the time for rage. I had to find a way to save grandfather. I took a small porcelain bottle from my pocket and poured out 2 pills to feed into grandfather's mouth. Afraid of being discovered, I temporarily left the hospital and found a nearby cafe to call Ellie and discuss a plan to rescue grandfather. Once everything was arranged, I returned to the hospital. However, when I reached the door of grandfather's ward, I found that the bodyguards guarding the outside had all been knocked unconscious, and grandfather, who was supposed to be lying in the ward, was gone. "Grandfather!" I was frantic. I had only been gone for over an hour. How could he be gone? Just then, my phone rang. Opening it, I immediately gasped. It was a photo of grandfather sent from an unknown number. Killing intent flashed in my eyes, and I immediately dialed the number. As soon as the call connected, I spoke. "Where is my grandfather?" A familiar voice came through the phone. "Mr. G, Miss Sia asked me to tell you that if you want to save your grandfather, come to Yantanvia to see her." My spine stiffened, my eyes turning red with rage. Xia Yunshu, that dog, actually dared to kidnap grandfather to threaten me. Also, Miss Xia asked me to remind you to move her number out of your blacklist. Yang Ting finished speaking and hung up. Yuntan Villa. All first-tier cities in China have high-end private residences developed by the Ji family, and Yuntan Villa was one of them. At this time, Xia Yunshu was sitting on the sofa in the living room with a laptop on her lap, her index finger tapping the keyboard rapidly. All the surveillance footage from the Gi residence last night had been pulled, but many scenes had been intentionally deleted. She was trying to find a way to restore them. Young Ting walked to Xia Yunshu's side and said, "Miss, I've called Mr. Gi. He should be on his way now." Hearing this, Xia Yunshu sneered. In less than half an hour, I rushed to Yuntan Villa. As soon as I entered, I was like a powder keg charging in front of Xia Yunshu. "Xia Yunshu, what have you done to my grandfather?" Xia Yunshu closed her laptop and stared at me with a half smile. "Who is grandfather?" I laughed out of anger. "Stop playing dumb with me." Since Xia Yunshu kidnapped grandfather to threaten me, it meant she already knew my identity. Xia Yunshu narrowed her eyes, studying me, her red lips curling into an arc. "Then should I call you Ji Huai or Ji Feng?" I clenched my fists and glared at Xia Yunshu. Ji Feng is my formal name, and Ji Huai is my nickname. During those years abroad, I used the alias Ji Huai to avoid exposing my identity, and over time, I got used to using it. Xia Yunshu spoke as if to herself. "The time you saved me and the time the Ji family announced Ji Feng's death are quite close. Combined with what you said last night, I boldly guess that you are the eldest young master of the Ji family who has been dead for 2 years, Ji Feng." I shrugged. Since Xia Yunshu already knew, I had nothing to hide. I raised my head to look at her. "Yes, I am Ji Feng." Xia Yunshu looked at me and asked, "When did you regain your memory?" My gaze held a hint of coldness. "The day you proposed divorce." Xia Yunshu recalled the scene of that day, her brow furrowing slightly. I smiled mockingly. "Speaking of which, I should thank you. If it weren't for your heartlessness, perhaps I wouldn't have regained my memory until now." Xia Yunshu looked at me with an unpleasant expression. "Ji Feng, do you have to speak to me with such thorns?" I treated her unceremoniously. "I don't need to have such a good attitude toward an ex-wife." Xia Yunshu was left speechless. She stared at me in silence for a while, then suddenly asked, "Let me ask you, when did you leave last night?" I froze for a moment. It was fine if she didn't mention last night, but mentioning it filled me with rage. Just as I was about to explode, Xia Yunshu suddenly stepped forward, her eyes staring at me sharply. "When I called you this morning, why was Ellie by your side? Don't tell me you were fooling around with her all night." Hearing Xia Yunshu's words, I was stunned for a moment before realizing the meaning behind them. My face turned pale instantly. Who was I fooling around with last night? Does she not know? Looking at her, it seemed she didn't want to admit to what happened last night. I stared at Xia Yunshu, a self-deprecating smile flashing in my eyes. "Yes, I was fooling around with her last night." Xia Yunshu's back stiffened. "Last night, I clearly had the same drug in me as she did. If he left and was with Ellie, then they..." Thinking of this, Xia Yunshu went into an extreme frenzy, wanting to tear Ellie apart with her own hands. I was her husband, yet I spent the night fooling around with another woman. Ji Feng, how can you be so shameless? I looked at Xia Yunshu coldly. Yes, I am shameless. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent the last 2 years like a lapdog revolving around you. Whenever I think about the life I've lived these past 2 years, I feel stifled. When have I ever suffered such grievances? Xia Yunshu stared at me, narrowing her eyes dangerously. She suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me upstairs. I wanted to shake off her hand, but my foot slipped and I fell heavily. Xia Yunshu tried to reach out to catch me, but was a step too late, watching as my head slammed against the edge of the table. The blood stung Xia Yunshu's eyes. She hurried forward, wanting to hold me. I glared at her. Get lost! Don't touch me! I covered the wound on my forehead, leaning weakly against Xia Yunshu's shoulder, wanting to struggle but having no strength. Xia Yunshu panicked and hurriedly shouted, Yang Ting, call the doctor. Soon, Yang Ting brought the villa's family doctor. After an examination, the doctor said the wound on my forehead was a bit deep and needed stitches. I hadn't rested much after taking that medicine, and with all the tossing and turning today, the wound was painful and uncomfortable. I fell into a daze and went to sleep. Xia Yunshu stayed by the bed, watching the doctor give me stitches. her emotions gradually calming down. What was wrong with her? Why was she so out of control? Was it just because Ji-Huai was with Ellie last night? They had both been drugged after drinking that water, and had little memory of what happened afterward. At that time, staying by her side wasn't the best choice, but he would rather go to Ellie than stay with her. Yunshu really didn't want to admit she was jealous, frenzied with jealousy. Just then, Yang Ting suddenly walked in from outside. Miss, Ji Rende sent a maid over, saying the investigation is clear. The person who drugged your tea last night was her. Yunshu sneered. She didn't think things were that simple. Ji Rende most likely wanted to find a random scapegoat to fool her. Yunshu said, keep the person and have people continue the investigation. When I woke up again, it was already dark outside. I instinctively wanted to raise my hand to touch my forehead, but my hand was caught by a cool hand. The wound had just been dressed. I looked at Yunshu's punchable face and really wanted to curse. Yunshu, how exactly have I offended you for you to treat me like this? Yunshu sat by the bed without speaking. I glared at her. Yunshu, we are already divorced. Divorced, do you understand? An ex-wife should act like an ex-wife. Ex-wife? Yunshu was furious hearing these words now. Didn't he love her very much? Had he regained his old memories only to forget his feelings for her? Yunshu grabbed my hand. Jifeng, we are still in the divorce cooling off period. I can withdraw the divorce application at any time. Hearing Yunshu's words, I immediately became anxious. Yunshu, don't you dare do something so inhuman. You were the one who proposed the divorce, and I fulfilled your wish. Now you want to go back on your word? It's not that easy. What do you take me for? Yunshu stared at me. If you provoke me, I'll do anything. Don't forget your grandfather is still in my hands. I almost forgot about that. Grandfather was still in her hands. I grabbed Yunshu's collar. Yunshu, if you dare touch a hair on my grandfather's head, I will absolutely not let you go. To actually dare use grandfather to threaten him. Because I was too excited, my head started hurting again. Slow down. Yunshu held my shoulders to keep me from moving. I've already had people send Old Man Ji back to Kyoto. A medical team has been arranged there. He will receive the best treatment and care. You don't have to worry at all. Yunshu had a premonition that after I left Kyoto this time, I likely wouldn't return. To keep me, this was the simplest and most direct method. As long as Old Man Ji was in Kyoto, I would return even if I went to the ends of the earth. I clenched my fists and glared at her. Quote, Yunshu, what exactly do you want? Offering unsolicited help usually means ill intent. Yunshu's lips curled into a smile. After a few seconds of silence, she suddenly said, Ji-Huai, I suddenly don't want a divorce anymore. I was stunned for a moment. Don't want a divorce anymore? I stared at Yunshu for a long time with a half smile. If we don't divorce, what about your white moonlight, first love? Don't tell me you want to have your feet in two boats. What nonsense are you talking about? Yunshu looked at me with a face full of black lines. The news last time was wrong. He wasn't found. The smile on my face stiffened. No wonder she suddenly changed her mind about the divorce. It turned out she hadn't found her white moonlight. I stared at her with a cold expression. Yunshu, I am not a lapdog you can call and dismiss at your whim. Don't treat me as a substitute for your white moonlight. Yunshu frowned deeply. I haven't treated you as anyone's substitute. I waved my hand. No matter what you say, I won't continue to be with you. I looked at Yunshu coldly and added, Yunshu, a forced melon is not sweet. Yunshu looked at me indifferently. Whether it's sweet or not, I have to twist it off and taste it first to know. I was speechless, an indescribable irritability rising in my heart. How had I not noticed before that this woman was so rogue and thick-skinned? Seeing that I wanted to say more, Yunshu preemptively interrupted me. Jifeng, I have no other meaning. If you want your grandfather to be safe and sound, threatened with my grandfather again. Fine, Yunshu, you're capable. If we don't divorce, then we don't divorce. Who's afraid of whom? In my view, Yunshu was just acting on a whim, having developed an interest in me. The more I went against her, the greater her interest would be, and the more she would want to conquer me. If I were as well-behaved and obedient as before, she would likely lose interest before long. Thinking of this, I stopped speaking. Yunshu looked at the time. Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? I shook my head. Not hungry. I want to rest. After speaking, I lay down and closed my eyes to feign sleep. Yunshu didn't pay me any more mind and turned to walk out. Just as she went downstairs, she heard my phone on the coffee table suddenly ring. Yunshu picked it up and saw the caller ID, Irguzi, second dog, Ellie. Yunshu gripped the phone tightly, her whole body radiating a cold aura. After a while, she answered the call. A voice came from the other side. Jihuai, I've reached the nursing home. Why don't I see the old man? Where is he, Jihuai? Jihuai? Yunshu's cold voice rang out. Jihuai is with me. Ellie on the other end was stunned for a moment, before shouting loudly, Yunshu, you dog. Where did you take Jihuai? Yunshu's tone had no ups or downs. Huai is Yunshu's husband. Naturally, he is with me. Ellie immediately retorted, Yunshu, have you no shame? Do I need to remind you? You're divorced, and you were the one who proposed it. Yunshu paused, her tone icy. So what? As long as the divorce certificate isn't processed for a day, Jihuai remains my husband for a day. Ellie, I'm warning you to stay away from my husband. After speaking, without waiting for Ellie to respond, Yunshu hung up the phone. Just then, Yang Ting walked over. Miss, the surveillance footage from the Gi residence has been restored and sent to your phone. Hearing this, Yunshu hurriedly took out her phone. Soon, she saw the footage of me leaving in the surveillance. The time was 5:36. There was also a deleted piece of surveillance from the second-floor corridor. Yunshu opened it and saw the footage of Lin Batian entering her room. The time displayed on the surveillance was 5:56. Looking at these two surveillance videos, Yunshu suddenly realized something, a light flashing in her eyes. When she woke up this morning, the time was past 6 o'clock, less than an hour after I left. And Lin Batian had only entered the room right after I left. Then the person with her last night was actually me. Yunshu tried hard to recall what happened last night. Some blurry images gradually entered her mind. She remembered it was Jihuai. The person with her last night was indeed me. She had misunderstood me. Yunshu glanced upstairs, her eyes full of regret. Why didn't he explain? Did she really matter so little in his eyes that he couldn't even be bothered to give an explanation? Yang Ting, looking at the pensive Yunshu, spoke again. Miss, our people have investigated. The drug Jirende gave to Lin Batian was the one he put in a tea. As for the person Jirende sent over, they are undoubtedly a scapegoat. Yunshu closed the video, her face incomparably cold. Notify everyone to suspend all cooperation with the Gi family. Companies that cooperate with the Gi family will no longer be cooperated with. Thinking it was late and I hadn't eaten, she then instructed the maid to have someone brew a health porridge and make 2 light side dishes to be sent up. Before Yunshu could finish speaking, a maid's panicked voice came from upstairs. Not good, miss! Mr. Gi jumped out the window and ran away! Yunshu ran back to my bedroom to look. I was long gone. After leaving Yunshu's private villa, I encountered Ellie on the road, who had come to rescue me. Learning that Yunshu had taken Old Man Gi and threatened me against the divorce, Ellie was furious. Jihuai, if it really doesn't work, Ellie made a throat-slitting gesture. Kill her. Anyway, you can become single again as a widower. I was speechless. Yunshu saved my life after all. Doing that would be ungrateful. Ellie looked at me teasingly. I'm just playing with you. You, white cut black, innocent looking but dark, actually care about being ungrateful? Jihuai, I see you've taken a liking to her and can't bear to let go. My jaw was tight and I didn't speak. Although I didn't want to admit it, I knew in my heart that I liked Yunshu. After regaining my memory, I still had feelings for her. Seeing me silent, Ellie continued. Jihuai, I have to remind you, Yunshu is not one of us. I interrupted her. You don't need to remind me, I know. Precisely because I knew. I didn't want to continue being entangled with Yunshu. I was determined to divorce her. Feeling irritable, I returned to the hotel, changed my clothes and went out again. I needed to vent. Yunshu found the hotel where I was staying. She went to find me, and just as she reached the hotel entrance, she saw me come out and get into a sports car. Yunshu immediately instructed the driver to follow the car in front. Half an hour later, I parked the car in front of an unremarkable bar. Yunshu looked at the bar's sign. Seeing me enter the bar, she immediately followed. High Street is Jincheng's famous bar street. Beneath this street is a hidden underground fighting ring. The entrance was that unremarkable bar. Yunshu pushed the door open, a heavy smell of alcohol hitting her. It was only 3 a.m., the peak time for the bar. The dance floor was a mess of wild dancing, the lights dreamy and heavy metal music deafening. Yunshu scanned the area but saw no sign of me. What would Miss like to drink? The waiter first studied the woman who entered for a moment before stepping forward to ask. Yunshu didn't speak, directly pulling a transparent card from her bag and handing it to him. The waiter took it, walked to the bar to verify the code, then returned the card to her and led her to the elevator. Basement level 3. Turn left out of the elevator and go straight. Yunshu nodded and entered the elevator. The elevator went straight to B3. As soon as the door opened, the clamor of shouting and cheering could be heard. Yunshu walked out of the elevator, her eyes meeting a giant boxing ring. On the electronic screen above the ring, a photo of the boxing king Arsene and his historical record were displayed. The spectator seats around the ring were mostly filled with wealthy people and many foreigners. Looking across, heads were bobbing, every face filled with mad excitement. Yunshu went straight to the spectator area. The top was the VIP stand. She looked around the spectator seats but still found no sign of me. Had she guessed wrong? Had he not come down at all? Are you kidding? This match is actually a newcomer? To think a newcomer dares to fight Arsene. What a suicidal thing. Wait to be beaten into meat paste. I bet he won't last 10 minutes before being knocked down. 10 minutes is too long, 3 minutes at most. No, 1 minute. Arsene can blow him away with one punch. Yunshu listened to the discussions in the stands and looked up, just in time to see the name switch on the big screen. A glint of surprise flashed in her eyes. It was actually Xuanying. Although she didn't often go to underground rings, she knew of this mythical figure. During his 2 years in the European underground rings, he had created countless legends. Even now, many legends about him still circulate in the European underground. Yunshu thought she was lucky to encounter a figure like Xuanying in a domestic underground ring. Holy crap, Xuanying. Am I freaking blind? How could it be Xuanying? He's been retired for years. Why would he appear here? People who frequented the rings had all heard of Xuanying's great name. He was a legend in the boxing world, a boss among bosses. Xuanying became famous just as he reached adulthood, with a pair of explosive iron fists sweeping through all the underground rings in Europe. From his debut to his retirement, he never lost. Everyone in the spectator seats was stunned. Soon, the referee stepped onto the ring, with Arsene following behind. Everyone held their breath, looking toward the other tunnel in anticipation. A dozen seconds later, a person wearing a golden mask slowly walked out. He looked somewhat slender, but his cold gaze was sharp, showing no emotion at all. The spectator area was boiling. The big screen above the ring constantly updated the betting amount for this match, skyrocketing from an initial few hundred million to tens of billions, and the number was still rising. Yunshu stood in the stands in shock. It was Ji Huai. Although I was wearing a mask, Yunshu recognized me at a glance through my stature. Ji Huai, get down here! Yunshu shouted at the top of her lungs, pushing through the crowd toward the ring. Did he know what he was doing? He was just injured a few hours ago, yet now he dared to get on stage to fight. Ji Huai, get down! Yunshu wanted to rush to the bottom of the ring at all costs, but the audience's emotions were too high. She couldn't squeeze in no matter what. Soon the match began. The moment the bell rang, I pounced toward Arsene like a bolt of lightning. In the blink of an eye, my fierce fists fell on the opponent's face. Arsene was no pushover. Although he was hit, he reacted extremely quickly to counterattack. Seeing him swing his fist to smash my head, Yunshu's heart rose to her throat. However, it was at this moment that I dodged nimbly. The next second, I leaped into the air and flew to Arsene's side, striking his ribs with a heavy punch. Arsene on the stage let out a groan, almost kneeling. The shouting below the stage was constant, the atmosphere growing more and more intense, the air filled with excitement and madness. Arsene's eyes turned red with fury, his strikes becoming increasingly ruthless, but I skillfully dodged them every time. As time went on, Arsene became more passive. After a dozen moves, he was covered in bruises. his face swollen like a pig's head. In contrast, I was not only uninjured, but even my hairstyle on my face was not the least bit messy. This wasn't a fight. It was completely me, single-handedly brutalizing Arson. This match didn't last long. In less than 10 minutes, Arson was kicked off the stage by my spinning kick and passed out. The venue erupted again with wave after wave of cheers and shouts. Everyone calling my name. I stood in the center of the ring, a spotlight hitting me. My face shone in a close-up on the big screen. At this point, no one dared to doubt Xuanying's identity. I never expected that in my lifetime I would witness the great boss Xuanying fight. What kind of divine luck is this? Is the great god Xuanying preparing for a comeback? I'm too excited. Everyone below the stage was cheering and shouting, expressing their love and worship for me. Except for Yunshu. She looked at me on the big screen, and for some reason her heart throbbed painfully. Why did his eyes look so empty, as if isolated from the outside world, without any emotion? From the moment he got on stage until now, his fists hadn't loosened for a moment, and his lips were tightly pursed, as if enduring or suppressing something. Something wasn't right. The noisy shouting all around made me a bit displeased. I mechanically raised my head to look toward the spectator seats. My eyes flashed as I seemed to see a familiar silhouette. I glanced at it and turned to leave. Just as I walked out of the bar, I saw Yunshu waiting by my car. Why was she here? Was the person I saw in the underground ring just now really her? Did she recognize me? Yunshu stared at me not far away and beckoned. I looked at her with a cold gaze. The irritability I had mostly vented just now was faintly rising again. Seeing me not moving, Yunshu walked toward me with large strides. I looked at her and asked, "Yunshu, what do you want?" "That's what I should be asking you." Yunshu grabbed my wrist in a fit of rage. "Jihuai, do you have any idea what you were just doing? Did you forget you're still injured?" At the time, she hadn't expected my skills to be so formidable. From the moment she saw me walk onto the ring, her mind was full of the fact that I was still injured. What if something happened? In that instant, Yunshu felt her heart was about to jump out of her throat, wanting to fly onto the stage to pull me down. I stared at Yunshu coldly, a chilly smile curling on my lips. If you hadn't mentioned it, I really would have forgotten. Yunshu gritted her teeth, a breath stuck in her chest, unable to go up or down, feeling incredibly frustrated. "Jihuai, don't forget your grandfather is still in my hands." A cold light flashed in my eyes, and I spat out 3 words through gritted teeth. "You dog woman." I really wanted to blow her head off. "Get in the car." Yunshu pulled open the car door. I gave her a look and got into the car reluctantly. Yunshu was driving, her gaze shifting from time to time to look at me as I feigned sleep, her eyes full of scrutiny and curiosity. "Jihuai, just how many identities do you actually have?" she suddenly asked. The eldest young master of the Ji family, Ji Feng, was him. The boxing king Xuanying, who dominated the ring, was also him. Just how many more identities did this man have? I opened my eyes, my indifferent gaze full of defensiveness as I smiled faintly. "You guess." Yunshu glanced at me. "Whenever you want to speak, I am all ears." By the time we returned to Yunshu's villa, the sky was nearly bright. The wound on my forehead had split open. I treated it again and took 2 anti-inflammatory pills. After eating breakfast, I listlessly turned on the TV and happened to see an interview with Ji Haochen and Jiang Yueting. "Mr. Ji, there are rumors that after you two marry, the companies of both families will reach a further level of close cooperation. Can you reveal which aspect of cooperation it is? The Ji and Zhang families have been family friends for generations, and cooperation in the business world has never ceased. Now that the 2 families are becoming in-laws, the cooperation will naturally be closer than before. There are even rumors that the 2 companies might merge." Ji Haochen lightly held Zhang Yuting's hand. "Actually, I'm not too sure either. It's all my father and Uncle Zhang who are discussing it." At this time, Jiang Yuting also spoke up. "Everyone will know on the wedding day." Reporter: "Miss Jiang, some people online say you are marrying Mr. Ji to fulfill the engagement with the Ji family. But in your heart, the one you love is the deceased Ji Feng, right?" Upon hearing the name Ji Feng, Zhang Yuting furrowed her brows. Quote, I have always looked at Chi Feng as a brother. Engaging to him back then was only due to the pressure from the elders of both families. I originally thought of breaking the engagement when he was a bit older, but who knew that heaven would be jealous of heroic genius? Ji Haochen, who was beside her, also silently lowered his head, appearing as if touched by sad memories of the past. Cousin was too pitiful. After speaking, Ji Haochen's gaze looked affectionately at his fiancée beside him. The marriage between Yueting and me is not mixed with any commercial interests. The person I love from beginning to end is Yueting. The reason we are marrying is also because we love each other. I stared gloomily at that pair of dogs on the TV, my lips unable to resist curling into a cold sneer. What a loving each other. It seems Jiang Yueting has forgotten how she pursued me back then. Although I didn't love her, we were engaged after all. Being talked about like this by her made it seem like I was the one desperately clinging to her. I truly couldn't swallow this breath. I just happened to want to see exactly how much Jiang Yueting and Ji Haochen loved each other. Just as I was thinking, I heard a person's voice from outside. My name is Lin Batian. I'm Yunshu's friend. Please tell Yunshu I'm waiting for her downstairs. I raised an eyebrow. Lin Batian? I remember Ji Haochen's cousin is named exactly that. I turned my head and saw a servant leading a man covered in luxury brands walking in. Lin Batian didn't recognize me, and seemingly didn't expect that a man was actually living in Yunshu's villa. Seeing that I was actually wearing pajamas, his face darkened instantly. Who are you? Lin Batian pointed at me and questioned with a raised voice. The servant leading Lin Batian in introduced me. This is our Miss Yunshu's husband. Lin Batian gasped. What? This is Yunshu's hidden marriage husband? Aren't the rumors saying Yunshu's hidden husband is hideously ugly? This man in front of me isn't even remotely related to the word ugly, okay? So you are Yunshu's husband. Lin Batian quickly calmed down, his smile elegant and his tone full of mockery. No, it should be said you are Yunshu's ex-husband. He had long heard from a friend's persuasion that Yunshu and her married husband had already divorced. He wasn't afraid of someone who had been dumped by Yunshu. Thinking of this, Lin Batian's gaze toward me became even more arrogant. Yunshu has already divorced you, so why are you still shamelessly pestering her? I let out a sigh, feigning difficulty. Who says I'm pestering her? It's clearly her who is obsessively in love with me, sticking to me like a dogskin plaster and not letting me leave. Hearing this, Lin Batian pointed at me and spoke with a shrill voice. Nonsense. Look at yourself. How could you say Yunshu is obsessively in love with you? I think you have a delusional disorder. I let out a yawn and waved my hand. So noisy! Have someone throw him out for me. I hadn't slept all night and had exhausted a lot of physical strength. I was a bit tired. I stood up, prepared to go upstairs to catch up on sleep. Lin Batian's face turned from white to green with rage. He walked in front of me and pointed at my nose. You're just a pair of dumped old shoes, yet you dare to act powerful in front of me? I'm telling you, I am Yunshu's future husband. I raised an eyebrow, looking at him. You still want to be Yunshu's husband? In your dreams. Lin Batian took out his phone and found the photos he took yesterday while Yunshu hadn't woken up yet. If you don't believe it, look. If it weren't for a man in black suddenly breaking in that night and delaying his time, he would have already had a relationship with Yunshu. But with these photos, he's not afraid of Yunshu not admitting to it. I glanced at the photos on Lin Batian's phone, my expression changing slightly. In the photos, Yunshu was lying on the bed sleeping, and Lin Batian was holding her in his arms, smiling very sweetly. When did Yunshu and him? Before I could react. Lin Batian pointed at me arrogantly. Open your dog eyes and look clearly! I am about to become the Xia family son-in-law. When that time comes, you won't even be worthy of carrying my shoes. I hate it most when someone points their finger at me, let alone someone so arrogant. I immediately grabbed Lin Batian's wrist and twisted it fiercely. My hand! Only a crack was heard, and Lin Batian instantly clutched his hand and fell to the ground, unable to get up. I smiled. You think that by climbing onto Yunshu's bed, you can become the Xia family's son-in-law? I'm telling you, as long as I'm not dead, don't even think about it in this lifetime. Well said. Yunshu's voice suddenly came from behind, accompanied by pleasant applause. I turned my head and saw Yunshu walking down from upstairs with a face full of smiles. My words just now had pleased her. I snorted coldly, crossed my arms, and sat down on the sofa. I wanted to see how Yunshu would handle this in front of me, her husband. Lin Batian excitedly looked towards Yunshu. Yunshu. Yunshu narrowed her eyes. Lin Batian, I originally planned to deal with you in a couple of days. I didn't expect you to come to your own death. What she hadn't expected even more was that Lin Batian had actually taken photos. This person truly deserved to die. Lin Batian sensed the cold aura released from Yunshu and trembled with fear. No, Yunshu, let me explain. I just missed you too much and wanted to come see you. Yunshu sneered, not wanting to waste time on such an insignificant person. Someone, drag him down and take good care of him until he is willing to tell the truth. The bodyguards on the side spoke in unison. Yes, miss. Lin Batian had a face full of terror. Yunshu, please don't. I was wrong. I shouldn't have taken those photos. Yunshu, help! Lin Batian struggled. But the bodyguards didn't let go, regardless of what he said. Finally, he was dragged out, his roars getting further and further away. I looked at Yunshu with a sarcastic smile. After all, you've shared a bed. You really are cruel and merciless. Yunshu glanced at me and explained, the night before last, you left early. He snuck into the room and took those photos while I hadn't woken up. He didn't have time to touch a single finger of mine, and I have nothing to do with him. Hearing the explanation, I felt a bit better in my heart, but I remained stubborn. No need to explain. I don't care. After speaking, I got up and went upstairs. I lay on the bed but couldn't sleep no matter what. I covered my head with the quilt and held my breath, enduring the piercing pain coming from my heart, counting my heartbeats one by one. Damn it, the thing in my blood was acting up again. This thing had only flared up once in these 2 years. I don't have medicine by my side now, so I can only endure it. Suddenly, a soft body was next to me. I was startled. The next moment, a pair of slender and soft hands reached over. Shihui, are you trying to smother yourself? Yunshu said as she fished me out from under the quilt. Seeing my face turned red from holding my breath, she was both angry and annoyed. I looked at her, my eyes flashing. Every time the poison flared up, I only wanted to stay in a pitch-black room. Seeing me not speaking, Yunshu began to undress herself. My gaze was a bit dull. Yunshu, what do you want to do? She couldn't possibly want to sleep with me, right? Yunshu raised an eyebrow and held me. Sleep. My nerves instantly tightened, and I sat up from the bed, looking at her angrily. Yunshu met my angry expression, a few hints of ambiguity surfacing in her eyes, her fingers lightly caressing my chest intentionally or unintentionally. If you don't want to sleep, I can accompany you to do other things. After a pause, she caressed my cheek again. For example, the things from the night before last. I stiffened. Are you sick? We were married for 2 years and you wouldn't even let me hold your hand. Now that we're divorcing, you come out with this. Yunshu gazed at the hickey on my neck. I didn't see you when I woke up at the Gi residence yesterday morning, and my head was a bit dizzy, so I didn't quite remember the things from that night. I thought you abandoned me to find Ellie, but I checked the surveillance. You only left in the morning. I interrupted Yunshu's words. Adult men and women each take what they need. Yunshu furrowed her brows. Clearly she was the one who lost out, so why did she suddenly have a feeling of being abandoned? She stared at me solemnly. Shouldn't you take responsibility for me? I sneered. I've given you plenty of chances these years. It's you who didn't know how to cherish them. It's too late to say anything now. Yunshu stared at me with deep eyes. The feeling I gave her last night was too familiar. She wanted to confirm one thing. I sighed and took out my phone, prepared to transfer money. Speak. How much money do you want? Yunshu frowned. He actually wanted to throw money at her. I continued to ask, 50,000? 100,000? Or 200,000? Seeing Yunshu's black face not speaking, I intentionally frowned, full of disdain. Even the most expensive female models in Kyoto are only a bit over 100,000 a night. You still think 200,000 is too little? Yunshu couldn't help but lose her temper. He actually treated her like a female model. This man truly has the ability to anger her to death. I glanced at her. Forget it if you don't want it. Anyway, I won't be responsible for you. Now I feel angry just seeing her. I simply rolled over and turned my back to her. out of sight, out of mind. Yunshu silently looked at my back. That feeling became more and more familiar. After an unknown amount of time, sensing my breathing was shallow and even, she guessed I should be asleep. Yunshu needed to confirm one thing. She gently lifted my top, revealing my back. She stared at my back, a hint of disappointment surfacing in her eyes. She sighed in her heart. Although the feeling I gave her the night before last was very like that night 5 years ago, I am not him after all. I have no tattoo on my back. Yunshu gently lowered my clothes, her cold and beautiful eyes full of complexity staring at my profile. After a while, Yunshu reached out and gently hugged me, placing a soft kiss on my neck. It's okay, even if you're not him. Just then I suddenly moved and rolled over to rub against her chest. When asleep, it was hard to associate me with that boxing king Xuan Ying with explosive combat power. Yunshu stared at my handsome face, her heart beating rapidly and feeling her face was intensely hot. She hurriedly got up and went to the bathroom for a cold shower. Coming out after the shower, Yunshu still wanted to stay with me for a bit longer. Just then, a burst of noisy shouting suddenly came from downstairs. Yunshu walked to the balcony and saw Ellie leading 2 groups of black-clothed bodyguards surrounding the villa entrance. Yunshu, get the hell out here. Ellie had woken up early and found I wasn't at the hotel. After checking the surveillance, she found out I had driven to the underground ring to fight in the middle of the night. Having known me for 7 or 8 years, Ellie knew me too well. My going to fight without a word last night was likely due to the illness flaring up. Ellie called me, but no one answered. She then checked the surveillance outside the bar and found I had been taken away by Yunshu. Ellie was so angry she didn't even eat breakfast and directly led people to storm Yunshu's residence. Yunshu, don't play dead. I know you're inside. If you don't hand over Jifeng, I'll force my way in. You're already divorced yet still pestering him. Have you no shame? Ellie's throat was almost hoarse from shouting when she finally saw Yunshu walk out from inside. She immediately rushed forward. Yunshu narrowed her eyes. He is still sleeping. Is Jifeng something you're allowed to call? Ellie narrowed her cold eyes. She suddenly noticed that Yunshu was wearing pajamas at this time. She said Jihuai was still sleeping, then they just slept together? Ellie felt such hatred in her heart. If it weren't for the iron gate between them, Ellie would have already rushed up to tear her apart. Quote, Yunshu, don't think you can bind Jihuai using Old Man Ji. He never takes threats from anyone. Ellie crossed her arms and spoke with absolute certainty. This marriage of yours will be dissolved sooner or later. Yunshu's face darkened, her expression cold to the extreme. Seeing Yunshu's unpleasant face, Ellie directly took out a pen and checkbook from her bag. How about you name a price? Exactly how much money will it take for you to divorce Jihuai? Yunshu sneered. Did she look like she lacked money? Why was one after another throwing money at her? Seeing Yunshu not speaking, Ellie continued. I forgot. You probably don't lack money either. How about this? I'll give you a diamond mining hill. That's not something money can buy. Hey, Yunshu, I haven't finished speaking. Don't go! Yunshu directly ignored the Ellie outside. After returning to the house, she immediately made a call to Victor Amir. Not long after, Ellie received a call from her older sister. What? I have to go back now? But fine, I'll rush back immediately. After hanging up, Ellie sent me a message saying she had urgent matters to handle and then took her people to the airport. Yunshu stood on the balcony holding a wine glass, watching Ellie leave in a hurry, her red lips curving upward. I took a good rest in Yunshu's villa for 2 days. 2 days later, the day for Jiang Yueting and Ji Haochen's wedding finally arrived. Ji Haochen and Jiang Yueting were both future heirs of their respective families, a real-life version of a prince and princess, a match made in heaven. The wedding location was set at the most high-end and luxurious hotel in Jincheng Bixi Manor. All those attending the wedding banquet were from prominent families or commercial and political elites. This wedding was conducted with extreme high-profile luxury, not only inviting media people, but also holding a live broadcast. Wow, the church is decorated so dreamily, it's just like a castle. So romantic. It's said that Jiang Yueting and Ji Haochen's wedding rings are worth several $100 million. I wonder how stunning the bride will be when she appears. So excited. The melon-eating crowd online watched the live broadcast of the wedding while posting bullet comments, even more excited than the groom for the wedding to proceed quickly. As time passed and guests arrived successively, the wedding officially began at 11 a.m. A solemn priest stood on the stage delivering a speech. Subsequently, the groom Ji Hao-chen, in a sharp suit, walked up. Accompanied by a beautiful and romantic melody, the heavy doors of the church slowly opened. Jiang Yueting, in a custom white diamond-encrusted high-end wedding dress, stood at the door, elegant and noble, beautiful and moving. Ji Hao-chen smiled and met Jiang Yueting's gaze, feeling a great sense of satisfaction in his heart. After waiting so many years, today he was finally marrying Yueting. Father was right. Man can triumph over nature. Even if Jiang Yueting was Ji Feng's fiancée, so what? In the end, she still became his wife. Thinking of this, Ji Hao-chen slightly raised his chin, an arrogant smile flashing in his eyes, as he and Jiang Yueting walked toward each other. The two met in the middle of the red carpet and walked arm in arm to the priest. Groom, Mr. Ji Hao-chen, do you take the bride, Ms. Jiang Yueting, to be your wife? Whether in prosperity or adversity, wealth or poverty, health or sickness, will you always love her, cherish her, and be faithful to her forever? Jiang Yueting tightly held Ji Hao-chen's hand, gazing at him affectionately. Just then, the doors of the church were suddenly pushed open forcefully from the outside. Instantly, everyone turned their heads toward the main entrance. At the entrance, a handsome man stood against the light, his aura imposing and cold. Whether in terms of looks or temperament, he was perfectly impeccable, like a bright moon suddenly rising in the dark night. As long as he appeared, even the brightest stars would pale in comparison. Holy crap, is this Kaito kid? He couldn't be here to snatch the bride, right? This outfit completely steals the groom's thunder. Why does this handsome guy look a bit familiar to me? I walked into the church step by step, my overall aura and handsome looks shocking the entire audience into speechlessness. As I walked into the church, Ji Hao-chen and Jiang Yueting finally saw my face clearly. Ji Hao-chen's eyes widened, staring at the person walking toward him, his face full of disbelief. How could it be him? Hadn't he already died 2 years ago? Why was he still alive? It shouldn't be. My lips curled upward confidently, my smile graceful. Haven't seen you in 2 years? Does my cousin not recognize me anymore? Ji Hao-chen pointed at me with a face full of disbelief. Ji Feng was actually still alive. Jiang Yueting, who was beside him, stared at me, shocked as if struck by lightning. Not only her, but the faces of the Jiang family members nearby were even more unpleasant to the extreme. I let out a mocking laugh. My being alive has disappointed you, hasn't it? After speaking, I faced the guests of the wedding banquet. Hello everyone, I am the eldest grandson of the Ji family. 2 years ago I was ambushed and injured, and I don't know who spread the rumors saying I was dead. Now that I'm back, I want to tell everyone that the only heir to the Ji family, Ji Feng, is still alive. Ji Rende, who was on the side, stared at me with a sallow face, nearly gnashing his silver teeth. If I didn't die, the position of the Ji family heir would have nothing to do with him. He took a deep breath, suppressing the shock and anger in his heart, and stood up with a face full of hypocrisy. Xiaofeng, it's truly wonderful that you're not dead. You don't know how distressed second uncle was when he heard the news of your death 2 years ago. I looked at him lukewarmly. Is that so? I didn't expect second uncle to care about me so much. Jirende smiled awkwardly and reached out. You are my biological nephew. Of course I care about you. Today is the big day for your cousin and Yuting. Whatever the matter, let's talk after going home. Regardless, he couldn't let him ruin the wedding. I brushed away the hand Jirende reached out, my gaze leisurely sweeping over Ji Hao-chen and Jiang Yueting. Second uncle, our family matters can wait until we get home. As for other matters. Hearing this, Ji Hao-chan's heart skipped a beat. Ji Feng coming back at this time must be because he wants to snatch Jiang Yueting away. He would absolutely not allow anyone to take her. Thinking of this, Ji Hao-chen hurriedly spoke. Ji Feng, I'm sorry. I know Yueting had an engagement with you, but these past 2 years we all thought you had passed away. Yueting has already fallen in love with me, and I love her very much. Please just fulfill our wish. Ji Rende also spoke up to persuade. Yes, Xiaofeng, they didn't do anything to wrong you. They only got together after you passed away. Just for the sake of their true love, fulfill their wish. I looked at them faintly and smiled. Don't misunderstand. I haven't come today to break up the lovers. Ji Haochen's eyes lit up. Then you? I took a ring from my bag and handed it to Jiang Yueting. This is the token the Jiang family gave me when we got engaged 5 years ago. Since you and Ji Haochen like each other, then our engagement is hereby cancelled. From now on, the road is wide, and we shall each go our separate ways. Jiang Yueting took the ring I handed over, for a moment unable to believe it. She thought I would pester her, or at the very least, not let today's wedding proceed, but I had gracefully cancelled the engagement and even returned the engagement token to her. Ji Haochen looked at me with a moved face. Brother Ji Feng, thank you. Ji Rende, who was on the side, wore a face full of vain smiles. Second uncle knew you were the most sensible. Quickly, take a seat, no rush. I interrupted Ji Rende's words and looked toward the Jiang family sitting on the side. Mr. Zhang, Mrs. Zhang, since my engagement with Jiang Yueting is cancelled, then the cooperation previously set between our two families no longer needs to continue. Also, the $1 billion given to the Jiang family as a betrothal gift at the time of the engagement. I hope you can return it within a week. Hearing this, Jiang Yueting's father, Jiang Wenjian, stood up abruptly. The cooperation between the Ji and Jiang families was set by Old Man Ji. You have no right to cancel it. Jiang's mother also stood up, her eyes looking sharply at me. And that $1 billion was also voluntarily given to us by Old Man Ji. On what grounds should we return it? I looked coldly at Jiang Wenjian, the couple being quite composed. Mr. Jiang must be joking. As the heir of the Ji family, I possess 40% of the company's equity. Do I really not have the right to cancel a cooperation? As for that $1 billion, it was originally my betrothal gift. There were also notes made when the payment was made. Now that my engagement with your daughter is cancelled, that sum of money, by reason, morality, and law, must be returned. If Mrs. Jiang has doubts, she can consult a lawyer. Hearing this, Jiang's mother's eyes rolled, and she immediately became enthusiastic, warmly grabbing my hand. Ji Feng, I know you're still angry with Yueting. Actually, she and Ji Haochen haven't registered for a marriage certificate yet. This wedding, hearing Jiang's mother's words, Ji Haochen became anxious. Mom, what do you mean by this? Jiang's mother looked at Ji Haochen with a half smile. Ji Haochen, you and Yueting haven't married yet. Isn't it too early to call me Mom? If there were no Ji Feng, Ji Haochen would be the sole heir of the Ji family in the future. Yueting marrying him would bring 100 benefits and no harm to the Jiang family. But now Ji Feng was still alive. He was the proper person in charge of the Ji family. Ji Haochen couldn't compare to Ji Feng at all. In that case, it would be better to let Yueting marry Ji Feng. Ji Haochen looked at Jiang's mother with a face alternating between green and white. Jiang's mother grabbed her daughter and pulled her to her side. Yueting, Mom sees that you and Ji Feng are the match made in heaven. Quickly apologize to Ji Feng. Let's cancel today's wedding. Seeing this, Ji Rende was so angry he almost cursed out loud, but at this time, Jiang Wenjian lowered his voice and whispered a few words in his ear. The two exchanged a look with great rapport and no longer spoke. Jiang's mother pushed Jiang Yueting. Yueting, what are you still standing there for? Quickly apologize to Ji Feng. Also, put this ring on Ji Feng. Jiang Yueting glanced at Ji Haochen, calculating her own small plan in her heart. Although she liked Ji Haochen, if he wasn't the heir of the Ji family, then his attraction to her wouldn't be that great. Jiang Yueting waited in her heart and soon walked in front of me, looking at me with a face of guilt and deep affection. Ji Feng, I'm sorry. I thought you were dead, so that's why. Actually, I've always had you in my heart. Let's keep our engagement as it was, okay? Hearing this, Ji Haochen. The bouquet in her hand suddenly fell to the ground, her face turning pale. We are about to get married, yet you abandoned me at this moment to choose him? Ji Feng, why didn't you die? Ji Haochen stared at me intensely, his eyes like a venomous snake flicking its tongue. I took in all the hatred in Ji Haochen's eyes. I wanted to let Ji Haochen watch his beautiful dream shatter with his own eyes. But this was only just the beginning. Ah, Feng. Jiang Yuting wanted to reach out and hold my hand, but I slapped it away before she could touch it. I took a step back, my gaze cold and filled with disgust. Miss Jiang, I don't pick up trash. Jiang Yuting froze. A mocking laugh came from the crowd. Young Master Ji was raised as an heir by old Master Ji since childhood. He has high pride. How could he possibly go back on his word? The Zhang family's behavior is truly unsightly. If it weren't for the two old ladies being childhood friends, how could Jiang Yueting ever aim so high as to marry the young master of the Ji family? Jiang Yueting clenched her fists tightly, feeling the humiliation as if she had been slapped. She was actually being called trash. Ji Haochen bit his lower lip hard. Jiang's mother, seeing her daughter humiliated, glared at me with a flushed face. How can you speak like that? You have no manners at all. I glanced at her and replied, You are not worthy of my manners. I didn't bother to waste any more words with them and gave a final reminder. Transfer 1 billion United States dollars to my account within a week. If it's a penny short, we'll see each other in court. Of course, if your Jiang family is already so destitute that you can't even produce 1 billion, for the sake of my grandmother and Grandma Jiang being best friends, I can give you a few more days of grace. Xiang Wenjian was stunned, and his hatred for me grew a few notches deeper. If he admitted the Jiang family couldn't produce 1 billion United States dollars, within 3 days, all the companies still cooperating with the Jiang family would withdraw their capital or cancel cooperation. He absolutely couldn't let everything fail because of this. After calculating in his mind, Jiang Wenjian spoke. Our Jiang family has always been reasonable and never takes advantage of others. Rest assured, within a week, I will have the 1 billion United States dollars transferred to your account. I nodded with satisfaction. In front of so many people, I was certain Jiang Wenjian wouldn't dare to default. Then I won't disturb your wedding. Please continue. I looked faintly at Ji Rende. Second uncle, after you're finished here, come back to the Ji residence early. We still have family matters to handle. After speaking, I turned and left. Ji Haochen, overcome with rage, suddenly fainted. I walked out of the church, and a low-profile yet luxurious black sports car pulled up right in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Xia Yunshu's cold and strikingly beautiful face. Just letting them off like that? Although she hadn't gone in with me, she had seen everything that happened inside through the live broadcast online. I smiled faintly. Do I look like such a kind person? Xia Yunshu liked this confident and domineering look of mine. Where to now? I'll take you. Quote, no need. I didn't want too many people to know about my relationship with Xia Yunshu. Just then, a domineering Land Rover drove over like a bolt of lightning. With a screech, the car stopped steadily in front of Xia Yunshu. The door opened, and a man with tough facial features and a buzz cut got out of the driver's seat. The man looked to be about 30 years old. Xia Yunshu looked at this familiar face, a flash of surprise in her eyes. She knew this man. Shui Shi, the chairman of the American Earl Security Group. He had another identity, the leader of the largest mercenary corps in the United States. She had met him once in South Africa 5 years ago. Shui Shi got out of the car and stood straight in front of me with a respectful face. Boss, long time no see. Xia Yunshu looked sharply at Shui Shi. He actually called Jihuai boss? She asked, why are you here? Ellie said you were here alone and asked me to come assist you. Shui Shi opened the car door for me. Just as I was about to get in, Xia Yunshu got out of her car and grabbed my hand. Seeing this, Shui Shi immediately flashed in front of me, his murderous intent overflowing. Let go! I patted Shui Shi's shoulder. Don't be nervous, it's fine. Shui Shi stepped back 2 paces without a word. Xia Yunshu questioned with a cold face, what is your relationship with him? I said plainly, as you can see, he is my subordinate and also my friend. Xia Yunshu's face turned even colder. One Ellie was just driven away, and now came a Shui Shi. I impatiently shook off Xia Yunshu's hand. Xia Yunshu, go do whatever you need to do. Don't keep pestering me, okay? Xia Yunshu felt these words were vaguely familiar. It seemed she had once said the same to me. "Fine, I won't pester you, but you must come back to my place tonight." Yunshu endured the anger in her heart, trying to make her voice as peaceful as possible. She was afraid that if she pushed too hard, it would make me want to escape from her even more. I glanced at her and said, "We'll see." After speaking, I got directly into Shushi's car. After I left, Yunshu dialed a phone number. "Send people to watch Jirende, and also send some people to the Gi residence to keep an eye out. 2 years ago, Jirende wanted to kill me. Now that I was back, he would definitely have secret moves." Because of my appearance, the wedding of Ji Haochen and Jiang Yueting ultimately couldn't proceed. Ji Haochen fainted and was sent to the hospital, waking up not long after. "Ji Feng ruined my wedding. I must kill him." As soon as Ji Haochen woke up, he cursed like a madman. Jirende patted his son's shoulder. "Haochen, have you forgotten how your father usually teaches you? The more it's a time like this, the more you need to be calm." "Father, how can I be calm? Today was my wedding." Jirende held his son's hand. It was his good luck that he wasn't killed 2 years ago. I don't believe his luck can always be this good. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Jirende's eyes. "Haochen, rest assured, this time father will definitely make sure Ji Feng is dead for good." After calming his son's emotions, Jirende walked out of the hospital room. Jiang Wenjian's family was waiting for him outside. Jirende looked at them. "Brother Jiang, what exactly does your Jiang family mean?" Jiang Wenjian narrowed his deep, dark eyes. "Brother Ji, you are a smart man. You should know that what we had Yueting do at the wedding was just a temporary measure. We are on the same boat now. Betraying you would bring us no benefit either." Jirende raised an eyebrow. So we should now think carefully about how to eliminate our common enemy. On the other side, I took a lawyer to the G group and took over the company's power with thunderous means. During the 2 years I was away, Jirende had replaced most of the employees in important positions with his relatives. So as soon as I took over the company, I first fired those people. Then I held a meeting and stopped all cooperation with the Zhang group. After finishing my work, I took a car back to the G residence. As soon as I entered the house, I saw Jirende sitting in the living room drinking tea. "Second uncle, sorry to keep you waiting." Jirende sat on the main sofa with his legs crossed, staring at me gloomily. "Xiaofeng, I am your second uncle after all. You took my power as soon as you came back and even fired my people. Isn't that slapping my face? How am I supposed to have a footing in the G family in the future?" I sneered. "You still want a footing in the G family?" Jirende was stunned, not yet understanding what I meant by those words, only to hear me speak again. "Jirende, based solely on the one fact that you hired Black Shark to assassinate me, the G family cannot tolerate you. Not to mention you even poisoned grandfather, attempting to kill him. You deserve to die!" Jirende was horrified, his face turning pale in an instant. He had done it so secretly, how could I know? I looked at Jirende, my lips curling up slightly. "Since I was a child, grandfather taught me that as the eldest grandson and future head of the G family, I must never be afraid of trouble, and certainly not be too kind. One must repay kindness and return vengeance." Jirende stood up, pointing a trembling finger at me. "The person who saved the old master that night was you." I sat down leisurely on the sofa. "That's right. Jirende, I'll give you 2 choices. Either tomorrow morning, you and Ji Haochen go to the police station to surrender yourself, and spend the rest of your lives repenting in prison." I paused, then continued. "Or you commit suicide in the Ji family ancestral hall now, and Ji Haochen cripples both his hands. The Ji family has house rules, prohibiting siblings from harming each other. Otherwise, I wouldn't give him a choice." Jirende stared at me with ruthless eyes, his expression changing repeatedly. "Surrender? Suicide? Ridiculous! I choose a third path. Someone at Jirende's command. He originally thought the bodyguards ambushed in the backyard would rush in immediately. Who knew that after waiting a while, not a single person came in?" Jirende shouted several more times. "Someone! Someone!" Seeing that still no one came in, he ran to the backyard. The dozens of bodyguards he had arranged in the backyard were lying on the ground in all directions, none surviving. A man wearing a leather jacket stood among the corpses all over the ground, looking at him expressionlessly, his eyes like a god of death from hell. Jirende looked at this scene, a layer of cold sweat breaking out on his back. These were all elite bodyguards he had selected. And yet they were taken out silently just like that? Jirende pointed at the man, his voice involuntarily trembling slightly. "Who are you?" Shui Shi said nothing and walked toward him, a strong, murderous aura assailing him. Jirende immediately reached into his clothes to pull a gun. However, before he could pull the gun, he felt a gust of wind. The gun in his bosom was gone. Jirende didn't see at all how he had pounced in front of him. By the time he reacted, the dark muzzle of the gun was already against his forehead. Quote, "What are you gonna do?" I walked out of the living room, my eyes sweeping over the corpses on the ground without a trace of warmth. Jushi asked, "Boss, how to handle this person?" I raised my hand, signaling him to put down the gun. "Jirende, I'll give you one night to consider. If you can't make a decision by noon tomorrow, I'll help you." After speaking, I left with Shueishiye. Jirende slumped onto the sofa, watching my back with clenched fists. He had underestimated me. After all, I was the successor personally cultivated by the old master. Without some means, it would have been impossible to survive the pursuit of Black Shark 2 years ago. Jirende picked up his phone and dialed Jiang Wenjian's number. Tonight's action failed. There's a very powerful expert by his side. It's a bit difficult to kill him silently. Brother Ji, rest assured, I've already contacted an assassin from the Yin sect through connections. The person is already on the way to Jincheng. He won't survive tonight. Jirende breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. The Yin sect was the world's #1 assassin organization, on a completely different level from Black Shark. They not only charged high prices, but wouldn't take average orders. 2 years ago, Jirende had wanted to find an assassin from the Yin sect to solve me, but he had no way to get in touch. Now it was different. Thinking of this, Jirende completely relaxed in his heart. "Jihui, today is the day of your death." On the other side, after walking out of the Ji residence, Suhei, she spoke. "Boss, I didn't handle those people in the backyard. I was surprised." "It wasn't you?" Joeshii nodded. "When I arrived, they had already been dealt with by someone else." Just as he was about to say something, a car horn suddenly sounded nearby. I turned my head and saw it was Xia Yunshu's car. Shuai Shi looked at Xia Yunshu with eyes full of hostility. Why is it her again? It seems Ellie was right. This woman is truly persistent. Xia Yunshu got out of the car and looked at me. "Are you okay?" I shook my head, remembering what she just said, and asked, "Were you the one who dealt with those people in the house?" Xia Yunshu didn't deny it. She knew I was very skilled and had an expert like Sui Shi with me, so those people wouldn't hurt me. But to be safe, she still had someone deal with them first. If she hadn't been worried, I would blame her for meddling. She even wanted to have Jirende dealt with as well. "Let's go home." I didn't refuse this time. I had been tired all day and didn't have the heart to argue with her now. Follow us in the car." Xie Yunshu's face darkened. "You want him to stay at my place?" I raised an eyebrow and looked at her. "Not willing?" Xia Yunshu frowned, her face written with 180 kinds of unwillingness. I immediately went to open the car door. "Fine, if you're not willing, we'll stay at a hotel." Xia Yunshu slammed the car door shut. "Drive!" Yang Ting didn't dare to delay and stepped on the gas. 20 minutes later, we returned to Xia Yunshu's villa, and she had the servants arrange a guest room for Shui Shi. After dinner in the evening, Shui Shi was exercising in the yard. I hadn't seen him for 3 years and wanted to test his skills, so I sparred with him for a few rounds. After Xie Yunshu finished handling business upstairs and came downstairs, she saw me and Thu Shi entangled in a fight. This duel didn't last long. In the end, I won against Shui Shi. Xia Yunshu handed me a glass of lemon water and looked teasingly at Shui Shi. I thought the skills of a mercenary corps leader would be very formidable. Turns out it's only so-so. Shu Shi looked coolly at Xia Yunshu. My skills were taught to me personally by the boss. It's not shameful to lose to him. Xia Yunshu was stunned. "You taught him?" I drank water and nodded with a smile. Xia Yunshu stared at me for 2 seconds, then suddenly spoke. "Husband, just how many things are there about you that I don't know?" I really couldn't hold it back and spat out a mouthful of water. "Xia Yunshu, are you sick?" I widened my eyes in shock. This woman actually called me husband? Had she taken the wrong medicine or forgotten to take it? Xia Yunshu was very dissatisfied with my reaction. She took out a tissue and wiped my mouth while asking, "You don't like me calling you that?" I nodded blankly. "I don't like it." Xia Yunshu snorted. "But I like it." Shushi looked like he had received 100,000 shocks as he looked at me. "Boss, you guys are married? Impossible, right?" Ellie only told him that Xia Yunshu was the boss's pursuer. She didn't mention anything about them being married. Besides, that eldest miss was so possessive. How could she allow the boss to marry another woman? Xia Yunshu looked provocatively at Shu Shiyi. "We've been married for 2 years. If you want to see the marriage certificate, I can." I glanced at Xia Yunshu and then turned to leave. As soon as my back disappeared, Xia Yunshu's expression turned cold. She looked at Shu Shiyi, making no secret of her possessiveness toward me. "Shu Shiyi, I'm warning you to stop having ideas about Ji Huai, and don't even think about making him leave me." Shu Shiyi smiled with a hidden knife. "Miss Xia worries too much. I only obey the boss. As for whether he will leave you, that depends on whether you have the ability to keep him." Although he said so, Shu Shiyi was already certain in his heart that Xia Yunshu couldn't keep the boss. At the corner of the second floor, I leaned against the cold wall, listening to the conversation between Xia Yunshu and Shu Shiyi. I went back to the bedroom and washed my face with cold water, staring at myself in the mirror with complex and conflicted eyes. What did Xia Yunshu mean by those words just now? Had she really fallen in love with me? Then what about her white moonlight? The more I thought, the more frustrated I became. Just as I finished washing up, Xia Yunshu entered the bedroom, holding a glass of milk. She handed the milk to me and casually took the hairdryer from my hand to help me dry my hair. Since she wanted to serve me, I was happy to enjoy it, scrolling through my phone while drinking milk. It must have been the woman's first time drying someone's hair. Her movements were a bit stiff. My experience was very poor. "Lighter, don't just blow in one place. This side is still wet." I glanced at her speechlessly. Xia Yunshu snorted softly and pinched my face. "You're quite good at ordering people around." Although her tone was displeased, the movements of her hands were still very gentle. I teased with a smile. "It is your honor to be ordered around by me." Just then, Xia Yunshu's phone rang. While drying my hair, she said, "Help me answer it." I picked up the phone and looked at the caller ID, bursting into laughter. "Are you sure you want me to answer it for you?" Xia Yunshu saw the name on the caller ID and still nodded. "Answer it." I pressed the answer button and turned on the speakerphone. "Sister Yunshu." Song Mingyu's voice came through the phone, making me get goosebumps. Song Mingyu waited 2 seconds, hearing only the whirring of the dryer. Quote, "Sister Yunshu, are you drying your hair?" I spoke with a smile. "Your sister Yunshu is currently helping me dry my hair." Song Mingyu on the other end of the phone was obviously stunned. "Ji Huai? Why is it you're with Sister Yunshu?" I intentionally wanted to provoke him and spoke plainly. We're not only together now, but we're going to sleep together in a while." Song Mingyu didn't believe it. "Sister Yunshu doesn't like you at all. How could she possibly?" A dark light flashed in Xia Yunshu's eyes as she interrupted him. "Song Mingyu, who I like has nothing to do with you." Song Mingyu was stunned, his tone becoming flustered and shocked. "Sister Yunshu, you're really with him?" He had actually chased Sister Yunshu all the way to Jincheng? It was so late and they were still together, and Sister Yunshu was even helping him dry his hair. Then wouldn't they really sleep together in a while? "If you have something to say it." Xia Yunshu's cold voice rang out. Song Mingyu immediately spoke. "Sister Yunshu, I'm sorry for disturbing you so late. I just wanted to ask if you can come to my birthday party next Saturday." Xia Yunshu refused flatly. "Busy, no time." Song Mingyu didn't give up. "You shouldn't have to go to the company on Saturday, right?" He had already bragged to his brothers that Xia Yunshu would definitely come to celebrate with him on his birthday. If she didn't come, how embarrassed would he be? Xia Yunshu looked at me. "Busy accompanying my husband." I rolled my eyes. This woman was really trying to use me to block her peach blossoms. But on second thought, Song Mingyu was probably about to die of jealousy right now. I was in a great mood and intentionally leaned closer to Xia Yunshu, saying, "Wife is the best, love you moi." Xia Yunshu's face stiffened. She knew clearly I was saying it intentionally to anger Song Mingyu, yet her heart was beating rapidly. Song Mingyu was heavily struck and didn't speak for a moment. Anything else? Yunshu's tone was still cold. Song Mingyu was furious, but didn't dare to explode in front of Yunshu, still maintaining an obedient and sensible persona. Nothing else, Sister Yunshu? Before he finished speaking, Yunshu hung up the phone. Song Mingyu looked at his phone, gnashing his teeth in rage. Ji Huai really deserves to die. The grudge of twisting his hand last time must be repaid. The more Song Mingyu thought, the angrier he got. No, he must take the initiative. He couldn't let Ji Huai take Yunshu away. After hanging up, I casually threw the phone onto the coffee table with a crisp sound. Yunshu looked at me with a half smile. Husband is jealous? I pushed Yunshu away. Get lost! Yunshu pouted. You dog of a man! Turning your back on me as soon as you're done using me, I glanced at her. As if you didn't just use me too. Yunshu smiled and put her hands on my shoulders. I'll give you a massage. I let out a very enjoyable low sound, my body involuntarily relaxing. I didn't expect you to have this skill. It's a pity you didn't become a masseuse. Seeing my face full of enjoyment, Yunshu was silent for a while before speaking. Since I've served you so wholeheartedly, shouldn't you answer my previous question? I opened my eyes and was caught off guard by her gaze. My heart seemed to skip a beat. Yunshu's features were very beautiful, especially those eyes, which were stunningly beautiful, as if they could suck a person in. Yunshu's pleasant voice rang out, staring at me blankly. I turned my gaze away in embarrassment. Stop being narcissistic. What did you just say? Yunshu paused. Shueshi is the president of the Earl Security Group and the leader of a mercenary corps, yet he calls you boss. My eyes flickered. I didn't expect Yunshu to actually know Shueishi's identity. What do you want to ask? Yunshu sat up straight, her expression holding a bit of seriousness. What is your relationship with the mercenary corps? I didn't want to answer this question. I didn't plan to tell Yunshu many things. Yunshu, can you stop meddling in my business? Yunshu frowned slightly. We are husband and wife. Seeing her looking like she was prepared to get to the bottom of things, I smiled faintly. Then you answer my question first, and then I'll answer yours. Yunshu nodded. Fine, ask. I spoke mockingly. What is the deal with you and your white moonlight Achi? Yunshu's face darkened, her jaw tightening. Looking at Yunshu's expression, I smiled with lowered eyes. I knew that as soon as that person named Achi was mentioned, her face would change. Yunshu said with a cold face, change the question. I pulled some distance from Yunshu and leaned against the other end of the sofa. See? You also have questions you don't want to answer. In that case, I won't ask about your past with Achi, and you don't ask about my business either. Yunshu interrupted me forcefully. Except for Achi's business, you can ask me anything else. I looked at Yunshu with a mocking gaze. Can't mention it, can't ask. It seems he isn't your white moonlight, but the cinnabar mole in your heart. One touch and the heart aches, as if it would take your life. Yunshu's tone was displeased. Ji Huai, can you not speak with thorns? I was already unhappy in my heart, and my temper flared up. I stood up from the sofa abruptly. Yunshu, not only do I speak with thorns, but my whole body is covered in thorns. Since you can't forget Achi, then don't come to provoke me, and certainly don't think of making me his substitute. After speaking, I slammed the door and left in a rage. Seeing my wrong state, Shueshi hurriedly asked, Boss, what happened? I waved my hand. Go drive. We're going back to the hotel. Yunshu regained her senses and hurriedly ran downstairs. Ji Huai, you stop right there! When did she ever treat Ji Huai as a substitute? After one disagreement, he slapped such a big label on her and even wanted to run away from home. Yunshu simply couldn't tolerate this misunderstanding, but I didn't pay her any attention at all, taking a few steps to the car prepared to get in. Ji Huai! Yunshu rushed forward. However, just then, a flicker of red light flashed before her eyes. The next moment, she saw a red dot appear on the back of my head. Yunshu's pupils constricted, and she suddenly sprinted toward me. Ji Huai, be careful! Yunshu's tense shout suddenly came from behind. Before I could turn my head, a shadow lunged and tackled me to the ground, At the instant we fell, a gunshot pierced the night sky. Xue Shi reacted quickly, jumping out of the car and drawing his gun toward the direction of the shot. Bang, bang. The gunshots rang out again. Xia Yunshu and I rolled twice on the lawn, avoiding the bullets. Hearing the commotion, the villa bodyguards all poured out, drawing their guns and forming a circle facing outward, protecting us in the middle. Ambush! Over there on the rooftop! Xue Shi pointed at the standalone Western-style house opposite the villa. A group of bodyguards aimed in the direction Su Shi indicated. After a burst of intense gunfire, the rooftop fell silent. I pushed the woman who was holding me tightly, only to hear a muffled groan. My heart skipped a beat. Yunshu? Are you injured? Yunshu looked up.